Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another episode of SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin, and I'm pleased to announce I've actually got my voice back to about 90% capacity.
Yay!
Which is funny because all the videos that have been coming out these past couple of weeks, except for the one I did with Jake, have been me talking at full volume because they were filmed before I got sick. But the ones in April are going to be with me with no voice because they were filmed while I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far I've been doing it, because I'm trying to reshuffle my collection. I have so many pickups I need to go through before I can go through a letter. And I've just been filming like batches of pickup episodes to throw out there. But hey, I'll have lots of them. But this is it's a special episode. This is a birthday episode.
Yeah.
For one of our people. It's not his birthday, and I'm not going to tell you when his birthday is just because I'm just like that. But since this is actually the animation Anticlimax, I'm going to have to use the Star versus the Force of Evil birthday.
I just called because I have to say happy birthday on your birthday day. Happy birthday on your birthday day. And there's a special delivery coming right your way. Your favorite.
Yep. Yeah. Digital cupcakes for you, Jake. Much less filling than the regular ones.
I could imagine.
Hey, stop hissing there, cats. Any case, I'm going to hand this over to you. I think people can understand from the title what we're covering, but you can introduce it just in case.
Alrighty then. So, for my birthday, I decided to do something a little bit different. Normally, I like to cover shows that I have seen, and normally I like to cover ones that are a little bit shorter because I don't have as much time as I would like. But I just finally finished reading the classic manga by Natsuki Takaya called Fruits Basket. And in lieu of doing the classic early aughts anime, which I have seen and many of our viewers have probably seen, I opted to go with the new one, the remake that came out starting in 2019. So this is Fruits Basket, sometimes called Fruba. And it is, again, the remake or relaunch, reboot, whatever you want to call it, of the manga that, like many of these reboots, is supposedly much more faithful to the source material. And based on the first season, I would say it's off to a damn good start in achieving that goal. So, IMDb describes it as, after Toru is taken in by the Soma family, she learns that 12 family members, that is slightly incorrect there, but anyway, transform involuntarily into animals of the Chinese zodiac and helps them deal with the emotional pain caused by the transformations. Anime News Network says, after a family tragedy turns her life upside down, plucky high schooler Toru Honda takes matters into her own hands and moves out into a tent. Unfortunately for her, she pitches her new home on private land belonging to the mysterious Soma clan. And it isn't long before the owners discover her secret. But as Toru quickly finds out when the family offers to take her in, the Somas have a secret of their own. When touched by the opposite sex, and again, this is slightly wrong because it's more like hugged, but whatever, they turn into the animals of the Chinese zodiac. So, I will dispense with the question of, have you all ever seen this or know this series at all? But about this version specifically, and we'll start with you, Brittany. Is this your first time with this version, and what are your thoughts on it?
No, it's probably my third, maybe fourth time, and this was one of the few times that we got a full adaptation of the graphic novel that was in a remake. It was probably the second one to do this behind Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Although they did a different version of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they modernized this a bit more, but
right. Well, I mean, FMA Brotherhood didn't want to retread old ground, so they kind of zoomed through much of the story. But
the early stuff, yeah, they zoomed through the early stuff.
But this one didn't, which is nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I want to get from this series or probably just go through and do it. Collect all because each episode has sort of a moral lesson, and I kind of want to collect the moral lesson from each episode.
Huh.
Simply because I think it'd be just a nice little thing to have, where because it's lessons in life, and it's an anime that gives you those lessons through a very awkward romance / comedy series. And it's sweet, it's touching, heart touching, and God love it. I mean, it's one of my favorite anime of all time. This version, by the way, not so much the other version. Although the other version still has one of the greatest bits of all time from anime.
Well, and I know you guys were quite fond of the other one before this one existed, but you know, it was.
I have things to say when it comes to the music, but that will have to wait till the end.
Well, yes. If that's an important part of your impression, you can certainly mention some. But is that it for your initial impression, Brittany? Or?
For initial, yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Brandon?
Well, it's not technically my first time seeing part of the first season because I started watching this.
Okay.
And then I stopped. I don't know why I stopped. I can't remember. It's just one of those things that just my mind just went, I don't remember this. But it was one of those things where, I mean, I saw the first series and I've read the first volume of the manga, but you know, I can only really afford to collect one thing at a time, and I've kind of had to come back to, do I want to collect anime or do I want to just read manga? I don't like Crunchyroll, so I kind of want anything to do with them. So, I decided to go with just the anime. And of course, hello to you as well. Of course, anybody watching is welcome to comment as we go. We are screening them and looking at them as we go.
Thanks for joining us, Mike McNally, as always.
As always. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, we are... I have always loved the series. I admit there is a part of me that's partial to the original just because it is... it was my first exposure to the series.
Right.
And I tried to get my wife to watch it, but every time I start, she starts like putting her headphones on and watching TikTok videos. So, I don't remember any of what you showed me. It's like, yeah, you had the headphones on, you were watching TikTok videos. So yeah, that's less attention than I give something that I'm kind of bored with.
I'd say try this version.
But I will say that this is a series that will definitely make you cry if you have that in you emotionally, especially if you're in emotionally vulnerable spots. And I've been there this past year. And I went ahead and I used this opportunity to go ahead and watch all 3 seasons and rewatch the film. I had the ending spoiled for me. I had part of the surprise spoiled for me by somebody. I don't remember who. And then I had the ending spoiled because I watched the movie and they pretty much play the relationship ending as the first half of that. And the other half is the prelude story between Toru's mother and father meeting and that whole thing. So I was kind of glad to go ahead and see it play out as it was and see it to the end. So now I can at least say that I know the whole story, which will allow me to join the other two of y'all who also know the whole story. I just don't know the whole story through the manga. But from what I've heard, this is fairly accurate, so I'm not missing a ton in the manga, but I could be wrong.
Well, it's definitely an enjoyable read, but
it's all about time, my friend. It's all about time. I've got Skip Beat that I'm like 3 volumes behind. I still haven't caught up to it.
Right. And in fairness, Brittany, if you have any more on your background with the series, feel free to jump in, because I will be doing a more comprehensive intro.
I'm pretty sure I was the drug pusher of this series to you all.
I think you're the one who ruined the ending for me.
Actually, Brittany,
I don't know if I ruined the ending for you.
I was about to say, and you guys are both in a position to correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think, Brittany, you were my first ever exposure to this story, because I think you were running the Naruto game and you introduced the Somas.
Yes.
And I had no idea what the reference was. I think I was one of the only people at the table who didn't. But that was my first introduction, was as guest characters in a Naruto game.
So yeah, I mean, I will admit I cried like a bitch throughout this episode, this show. Pretty much every episode. So
okay.
Yeah. If there's any series that will have you cry, and it's not just about sadness, which is there. A lot of the reasons why I think that I teared up in areas are the same reasons why I would tear up when I was watching the Mr. Rogers documentary.
Yeah.
Is when you get to a point in life where you feel like most people are evil, it's really refreshing to see that, at least in writing, it's not the case. In the Mr. Rogers documentary, it was the actual case that he was not evil. I still like worry about seeing some Epstein file on him or something just to ruin that. But at the same time, it would prove my outlook on people.
It'd be a little harder to cover with Mr. Rogers. I don't think they'd have as many video camera moments.
I think now that you mention that, I never even thought about that, but that's an interesting comparison. In a sense, you could kind of look at Toru Honda and her mother, Kyoko, almost, we'll say it in the other order. If we say Kyoko Honda and Toru Honda are kind of, in a way, an equivalent of Mr. Rogers and Daniel Tiger. And they do have that effect on the world around them, and it's crazy and it's wild. And but anyway, for me, I just mentioned, I think my first ever introduction to the world of Fruits Basket was in that game. But I think it was not long after that either Brandon or the group collectively insisted that I watch Fruits Basket. And I don't know if you showed it to me or lent it to me. I really couldn't.
I might have lent it to you guys, because I had the original collection on DVD. I was exposed to it through, I think, one of the cable anime show networks or something showing it. So that's how I got exposed to it. Yeah.
Right. And I definitely loved it. I definitely loved the show. I thought Toru herself was a little bit of a, I think the term for it is sort of like a Mary Sue kind of character. I liked her, but she was too, is that not the term?
That's not the right term. A Mary Sue would be an overpowered character. She's not really overpowered.
She is, though. And that's one thing I'm going to get to in a little bit. But like, she's almost too good. She's almost too perfect in a lot of ways. She's very likable. But that was I'm talking like first impressions.
Yeah, first impression.
A little bit. And my first impression, of course, no surprise to those who know me, I came away for the first series absolutely loving Saki Hanajima and Shigure Soma. They were my favorites. I loved them. And now I look back and I kind of cringe a little bit at Shigure. I'm like,
Well, Shigure doesn't do you any favors as the series goes on. That is
he would be all
not.
over those documents you were just talking about. But anyway,
high school girls. I do miss that. They did sneak that in once in this series.
They did.
It wasn't as pronounced though.
Yeah, it was when they did the parent teacher conference, and he decided to, and he did slip in a high school girls comment then.
Right,
but not as pronounced as the first series.
Where he's going around humming a tune while getting ready for Hanajima and Otani to come visit. I loved that in the first show. I will admit it didn't age as well as some of the other aspects. So I loved the show. I set it aside as, oh, this is a great show. For a long time, I was like, oh, you mean that's not the whole story? What? Why didn't this ever get a sequel? But I didn't really pursue it. And then when I started working in the library, I started reading the manga, got distracted by life and by the fact that they went from the single tankobon volumes to the omnibus when I was halfway through, and I lost track of where I was. And so I read about half of the story, got about as far as the first anime did. Well, a third of this, whatever. And then recently I picked it up again, and I kind of took a break halfway through and then powered through the second half once I got back to it, and just finished it. And I was like, this would be a great time to watch the remake. So I put forward this season. Unfortunately, because Funimation, Crunchyroll, those people are dicks, Season 2 is out of print, and I was only able to snag the second half, and I don't know when I'll be able to get the first half. So I have to borrow it.
Brittany is the only person who has read all the manga and seen all of this series together.
Uh-huh.
Can you say, was there any major things left out of this particular version of the anime that was in the manga?
Let's not go into too many specifics about the later part, though.
I
can say, to my knowledge, now it's been a long time since I've read the manga, so that it went for one. It's pretty much one of the more solid remakes out there. That it didn't really add anything new. And it's not to say that an anime can't do that. I'm loving the Trigun series, which the creator that said, I don't want you to remake the original. I want you to make a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're doing in that. But I mean, a lot of remakes, it's the genuine telling. If you're going to do the remake, it's the genuine telling of what the book said.
From what I understand with this one, they kind of went the opposite of what you just said with that, where this one, the creator is heavily involved and wanted to she had little to do with the original series.
She was pissed at the original.
Yeah.
That was no misunderstanding from a lot of people in the industry knew that that you'd get those toxic elements in a lot of industry adaptations. And it's rare that they'll give a crap about the creator unless that creator has a big name. They won't do it to someone like Takahashi. They won't do it to Oda. They won't do it to, most of the people that come from Jump, but they will do it to a creator that's in a shoujo like this is. They tend to just, embellish or change characters here and there. Then you add into the adaptation changes that may occur. So you add into those kind of things, and it will cause creators to be upset. There's some creators currently calling out this crap on multiple things, be it the adaptation or, the original creation. And you're seeing them to be a bit more vocal and be like, no, this is what my intention was, and you're destroying it.
Right.
Well, there are some that just go the way of, well, why bother watching the anime? Just read the manga. I don't watch anime. There are
Well,
a few that are like that.
well, the to that point again, I haven't fully seen the show, so I can't fully say on the rest. But I've also did watch my first experience with this series, this version, was the movie Prelude, which we watched for the Versus Awards. And I absolutely loved the theme song. And I think I managed to snag a Versus Award nomination for that song. And it was a good primer for the way the characters were presented in this one. The scene, it does kind of follow up the series and give slight spoilers to the ending. But to me, no, you see, again, I've now read the full story. To my mind, there were still a lot of surprises in that story.
You have the final couple result.
Right.
You have the results of the curse.
Right. You have things are spoiled by the movie, yes, but
now,
again, with this, and also with a series like this with so many characters, that's a lot of plot lines, a lot of things, But the movie, of course, focuses on Toru's parents, and I think there was a discussion before we started about how much of that was in the manga, and from what I remember, it's touched on, and this is one thing I read that Takaya has said about this adaptation, was it gave her a chance to flesh out stories she touched on but didn't really get to do in the manga.
Yeah, so the movie was a original creation to tell the final part of that story.
It wasn't fully original because those elements are in the manga, but they're not as fleshed out. They're there, but you blink and you miss them. Really, they're not long drawn out. Well, I won't say blink and you miss, but you know what I mean. Like it's not a big chunk. It's not like they skipped a whole chapter and came back to it for the movie. It's and I feel like there are certain elements that, like, we get 2 episodes devoted to Otani's backstory here, 2 episodes devoted to Hanajima. And the first of the Hanajima episodes was in the original anime, and I've always loved that episode. But the Otani one, I think that was barely touched on the first time around.
The original, the 2 friends barely got touched.
Right.
Plus, we also didn't get as much of a backstory, even for God, why am I slipping? Momiji. We didn't even get as much backstory from Momiji because we did not see a critical scene that we'll talk about when we get to it.
Most of the characters got more development here, and it's been a long time since I've seen the original series. So it's been, I don't know, I couldn't put every single thing, like this was definitely in, this was not, this was in, this was not. And partly it's because I did read the manga, so I have these things in my brain, and maybe I don't remember if they're in my brain from the manga or the show.
Well, the original show was 13 episodes.
Right.
It ended in the same spot that the first season ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's on similar tones to beginning and end of that series.
Right. But they definitely spent more
skipped
time.
a lot of stuff.
They spent a lot more time on backstory in this one. A lot more.
Yes, they did.
And certain side characters got a lot more development in this one. So there is that. So that was one of my first impressions of this, was that from my memory of the manga, this was a much closer version than the original anime. Another thing that I always remembered about the original anime, and I don't know if this is one of Takaya's issues with it, it might have been, I feel like the original one was a little wackier. It was a little more cartoony. Yeah. The Prince Yuki fan club in particular was really cartoony in the original. And there were a couple of other characters that, again, they played up Shiguri's they played up Shiguri's quirks a little bit more. He is much sneakier, much more conniving in the series than he really came off as in the first show.
It makes more sense because where they ended it with the original anime, they didn't have to worry about it because you don't really get into what Shigure is about or what he's really about until the later seasons.
Right. Well, you see hints of it. In the manga, you see hints of it early on.
But a lot of it's still on the surface. You don't really understand it until season 2, at least here. And I could see them saying, well, why bother with that? Now, to me, the Yuki fan club, I felt like they needed to be more cartoonishly evil in that because I consider them nasty. And I feel like they came across as nastier here, actually, but it took a lot longer for that to build up for me. It wasn't until later, towards the end of, I think, season 2, things got better, but before that, it was building from, well, they're just a minor annoyance to, no, they do some cruel stuff as they go.
Yeah, so, if I'm remembering correctly, Motoko graduates near the end of season 2, right? If that would be correct. Yeah. So I was just thinking about the placement in the manga, like she's a year ahead, so she does graduate, and that definitely changes the dynamic of that group. But yeah, like I said, one day I'll get to actually watch that. But
watch that original series again. I did listen to the theme of it again, but I never. But I wasn't. I had to put it between finishing this or rewatching that first season, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to confuse myself.
And I will agree, there is stuff to be said about the music, but I have a feeling there'll be some slightly divergent opinions there.
Oh yeah.
But as far as the rest of it goes, the animation style, the character designs are also a little closer to the original. I like the overall look. So there's a lot here I like. It feels like a slicker production, I think. And again, when we get into the production, I'm sure Brittany in particular have some things to say on that, I'm sure. But my impressions were very positive. I look forward to seeing the rest of it. I kind of hope that, maybe we'll come back to it later on. I don't know. I was a little disappointed we couldn't get Roger and or Dave to join us for this, but I guess at this point I'm not really holding my breath for much of that.
We have more chance of Dave than Roger, and for the most part, we don't have much chance of Dave just because he usually has dinner with his father on these nights.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a time commitment for this particular one. I get that. And I did make the time. It worked out. I didn't plan it this way. It just worked out this way. I did manage to watch the whole thing in Japanese as usual. But tonight I had a little bit of time. I actually rewatched the last episode and the I Never Back Down from a Wave Fight episode that we'll definitely be talking about. And between those two episodes, I got to see the English voice acting for most of the main characters. I think Akito, Ritsu, and Shiguri's editor are probably the only major characters who are not in one of those two episodes. So I gotta, at least to hear what they sound like in English.
I'm gonna give a call out. I'm gonna give this call out right here.
Yeah.
I love that we have Shiguri's editor. The original series, we didn't get the editor.
Yeah.
And
she was in it.
To see how miserable Shigure makes her.
Well,
I will say
briefly in the original series.
She's not as big a role.
They give her more of a shell out.
I will say though, putting her in the Ritsu episode meant there was a lot of high-pitched yelling in that episode.
Yeah, there was. It is one of the episodes I prefer not to watch that often.
So, actually, you probably keep track of this more than I do, Brittany, but it sounded like at least the majority of the English dub cast from the original series came back.
Yes.
I think it was.
I definitely remember Shigure's voice. That's definitely the same.
All of them, most of them, I'd like to say all of them, but most of them at least came back.
I think I read that they recast Akito, and apparently the kid that played Hiro aged out of the role, so they recast him as someone else.
I don't remember. I'll have to look through the numbers, but I know one of the voice actors in Crunchyroll right now. I'd like to say it was. I think it was. Shoot, I want to bring up the list again. My brain is just completely not working here. Get the characters' names here. Okay. I believe it was Haru. Yeah, it was Haru's voice actor. I believe is the English voice actor is currently going through cancer treatments. Really badly. I could be wrong because he's also the voice actor of Buggy from One Piece, and that's what happened there.
Let's see. Well, I will say this. To me, Laura Bailey is Toru. I just she nailed it, and
she does a good job.
The original one, to me, she nailed it here as far as the energy, the optimism, just the weird slight crack in her voice, even as she goes, it just fits her that well.
Right.
And watch looking at Anime News Network is reminding me that there's a new Ava series being made.
Yeah, there is that too. Yeah,
by the people behind some rather disturbing stuff already. So that's going to be interesting.
Interesting. So I guess we should probably get into it.
Yep.
So this series, we already kind of talked about the first episode a little bit because that's the setup for the series. But I guess the first episode is See You After School. And it's it basically sets up Toru is this cheerful, positive girl who is living in a tent, who there's a framed picture of her mother that you can tell from the very first moment is very important to her. And as she's walking to school, she happens to notice a mansion nearby that she didn't know about before. And then, what's that? But so later on, she that's weird. So we see a little bit of school life, and you see she's got these two friends, Arisa and Hanajima, and honestly, some of this is going to run together, so I'm probably not going to try and do make sure everything I say is per episode. So you guys feel free to course correct if you need to, or throw stuff in if you need to. But basically, just the early part of it is we meet her friends. We do meet Yuki, and we get an idea that he is this ideal to many of the girls in the school. They call him Prince Yuki, and he's supposed to be like this paragon of cool reserve and all that stuff. And and at some point, and then we also see that, I think this episode, we also see that Toru is a hard worker who, even after school, she works as basically as a janitor in this great big office building. What's up?
Yeah, she shows her hard-working idea that she's,
right.
I mean, she explains about her being staying with her grandfather and then not wanting to inconvenience him, so moving out into the tent and working nights to make sure she can afford her tuition. She's just, work it through for her mom. For her
well,
pet.
yeah, I think it is right away in the first episode that we hear that she is basically trying to, live up to her promise, to her mother that she would go to school and graduate and all that. And then, you see Yuki and Shigure are out like walking. They see her and they're like, where's she going? This is Soma land. What the, and they see her go into her tent and they're like, very puzzled by this. But eventually, I'm trying to.
Well, they invite her. Then they follow her into her tent. They actually invite her back because.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
this is our land,
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I remember that because it's one of my favorite scenes, which they did do exactly the same in the anime. So I'm figuring it's the same in the manga. Where the first thing that happens is when she leaves the tent. Yuki is more curious, but Shigure just laughs hysterically at it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but that just always cracks me up every time I see
it. Just how rude he can be. Like he is he's very easily amused. Let's put it that way. But yeah, she ends up I believe kind of collapsing from fever at this point. And so they kind of had to insist that she rest and whatever. And there's like there's weather going on, there's mudslide, and he knows about it. Shigure can hear like the dogs communicating. It's like one of the first hints you get that they've got some sort of connection, to animal, and then they go and find it. Sure enough, her tent was under the mudslide, and she freaks out. Mom, that the mother's portrait is buried. And they get her. They force her to go, lie down, rest, and Yuki calls on his friends, if you will, and they manage to get all her stuff dug out. Because he has a lot of little friends. He's got a connection to his own spirit. Oh, that was one of the first things. Was I believe didn't Toru went by on her way to school, I think, and she saw the Zodiac figurines and remarked on them to Shigure.
Yeah, and how it was missing the cat.
Right, how it was missing the cat, and that's right away. She's always had a thing for the cat. She actually talks about this a few times, that she always thought it was the saddest thing that the cat got left out of the banquet. And she said that she wanted to be the cat, which that also amused Shigure. And I think he said something like, I wonder what he would think about that. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of episodes and a lot of manga, and I know that I am just totally getting things out of order. So apologies to the people who have memorized the entire series, but it's but that's essentially the beginning. Is she loses her home basically, and they invite her in. They're like, stay with us. We have an extra room. But I believe it's at the very end of the episode that she learns their secret.
That they're hoarders.
What's that? Well, that they're hoarders, yes.
Yeah.
That's hardly a secret. Let's just say their kitchen is a nightmare zone. Although, as we see later on in the series, I think even later in the series, Shigure's room remains
yes
less than ideal.
Well, who do you think made it the mess?
Right. but yeah, so you basically had, I mean, you had this home where you basically had two bachelors not really caring all that much about domestic things, and but when they offer a place, I think Shigure, she's like, well, I can't do it. What can I do for you? You know, I can't just accept it. He's like, I think Shigure says something like, do you cook and clean? And she's like, yes. And he's like, welcome aboard.
Free sugar.
Yes. And she does for most of the she basically becomes the little homemaker, and to the point where she becomes really guilty when she can't do it. Like if there's an episode later where she gets sick and they have to practically force her to rest because it's just not in her nature. She's such a giving person, you know, it's not in her nature to put herself first. And just almost the opposite of Shigure.
You're missing a very important moment.
Okay.
Essentially, Taru explains why it's an important nature, and essentially she has this unending guilt for the day her mother died, that she never told her that she loved her.
Right. Or see you later, I think.
To see you later and take care. And
see you after school. Yeah, I mean, that's
she feels her mom died because of that.
Yes. And I think we kind of didn't get to that important little point too. This basically takes place 6 months after her mother was killed in a traffic accident. So yeah, so this person who was the light of her life, her central focus, you know, as the series goes on, we find out that her father died when she was a child. And we find out that there's a trait of hers that's remarked upon throughout the series. When new people meet her, they're like, she's so polite, it's kind of weird. And it's apparently that was one of his weird quirks. And she you guys can tell me if they get to it in the anime, but I know in the manga she straight up explains, or someone explains, it might have actually been one of her friends that explained that she picked it up because it was a way to keep her father alive.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And
that her father died of a cold.
Right.
Or it's assumed cold. It could have been something worse. I think the movie
some sort of cough.
Complications from something. Yeah.
And that you know, she was trying to be, or she's learned the politeness from her father.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the attitude she carries about being this infectious love and kindness, because that's literally what she is. She's an infectious love and kindness moment,
right? And this kind of comes. I'll just go ahead and throw this out. Well, no, I'll wait and say it a little later once we cover more episodes. I'm going to try and come back to that point. But so the second episode is called "They're All Animals." If I remember correctly, I think it was at the very end of the first episode that she ended up.
Well, the end, Kyo comes crashing through the window,
through the ceiling, yes,
or through the ceiling, and then immediately she tries to stop him from fighting Yuki and hugs him, and he becomes a cat.
And she accidentally gets all three of them somehow she like falls against all of them, and there's like a cat and a mouse, or rat rather, and a dog. And she's like, yeah, they're all animals. What? And she's like freaking out. And they're all looking at her. And this is where she learns the core secret of the Somas. There are a lot of secrets of the Somas. If the series goes on, we find out there are secrets within secrets within secrets.
Oh, yeah.
But the core secret is that they have a curse that goes back to the Chinese folktale of the Zodiac, where there are 12 animals of the Zodiac and the cat. And there's God. And there are 14 members of the Soma clan who fit those respective roles. And one thing that is, I'm going to try not to spoil the later parts of the story in this discussion. If we ever come back to it, we can talk about some of those in the later series. One of the things we ultimately find out is that this is an historic moment within the Soma family. But no one really knows it yet. But at any rate, we get, she learns this. She's like freaking out, and they finally calm her down. And basically, just when she's finally calm, they turn back. And she's like, not, let's just say that was a new experience for her. And they really played it up in this version, like big, explosive, poofy bits of colored smoke when they turn. And, well, you know, obviously when they turn, they kind of slip out of their clothes. And when they turn back, yeah, let's just say two guys her age and a grown man suddenly materializing in front of her was an odd experience.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And almost as odd as sitting and talking to animals who are talking to her in perfect human voices. You know, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, once they tell her what's up, and I think it's Yuki who remarks like, "I'm surprised you told her so easily," talking to Shigure. And then I think this is the first time. Do they mention the memory erasure at this point? I feel like they did.
They hint at it, but I don't think they mention it until we get Hatahori. Right.
Okay. And then so we get to I think by the end of this episode might be also where Kyo has officially come to live with them, and Shigure has basically handed down the edict that he's going to go to school with Yuki and Toru.
Yeah, which he's not too pleased about.
No, he's not. So for those at home who are not familiar either with this story or the old folktale, apparently the rat tricked the cat and told him the banquet was going to be the day after it actually was. And the cat believed the rat and missed the banquet. And because of that, the enmity between the two runs deep, to put it mildly. And of course, the Soma curse adds an extra wrinkle, which we eventually learn by the end of the season. Some of the additional issues with the cat, more of them surface as the series goes on. But by the end of the season,
it takes an interpretation of the tale.
Yeah. I mean, there's another telling of it at the end, which we won't cover for a long time. But
right. The final reinterpretation kind of throws the original one into doubt. But the original one is the one the Somas have always been told. And it apparently is not that far off from the one that Kyoko told Toru when she was a child. Which was basically, again, that the rat tricked the cat and rode the back of the ox to the banquet and was the first to greet God, basically. And in the Soma family, and I don't think I'm spoiling it too much to say Yuki is the favored one. And Hatsuharu, the ox, we will meet eventually. We do learn that he resented Yuki as a child until he actually met him. And then, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, that was caused by something different.
Yeah. But it was a riff off of the old myth, basically.
I mean, it's not following the actual myth that goes with it fully.
Right.
There is a cat involved in the original myth.
Right.
But it's not exactly as Fruit Baskets puts it.
Well, again, I'm talking about the myth as the Somas have always told.
Yeah.
know
As
what
the
I mean?
Somas have always told it, that's
Right.
that. I'm just
Yeah.
pointing out, if you want to go and look into, why the Chinese zodiac is the Chinese zodiac,
Right.
and you're going to get a different story.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of those stories, there's going to be different versions. I'm sure you could, and I would be very curious to like see a couple of other different versions. I think it'd be kind of interesting. I think this version's quite interesting, but I think we did say, I think it was again that first episode where Toru flashed back to her mother telling her the story. And she was so upset about the cat. And she's like, she declared right then and there she wanted to be the cat.
Yeah.
And she's always had an affinity for the cat because of that. So the third one we've got, Let's Play Rich Man, Poor Man. And I think this is the one where they introduce Kyo into the school life.
I don't know where you're getting the titles from.
I'm looking at ANN. But if I'm remembering correctly,
it's not the right titles.
Well, if I'm not reading the Japanese title.
No, the original title is All Shapes and Sizes of 3.
Well, I'm also looking at this. These titles they have on ANN are the title. They are the titles from.
Let's Play Rich Man, Poor Man. Okay, you're right.
They are the titles from the because I recognize them from the release that I watched, the DVD, the Blu-ray release. They are the titles they used for that. At least most of them are. But anyway,
so stuff about the rice ball.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole story about the Fruits Basket that gave it the full title, which we didn't quite get to that, I think. But
no,
I know
we get that about episode 4.
I know Rich Man, Poor Man was like a game that was it Hanajima who brought it up that tried to teach everyone?
It was Uta.
Zuotani.
It was Utani.
Yeah. And oh right, Hanajima was the one who didn't really know how to play, but she suddenly was like a natural or something.
Because she's using her waves.
Exactly. Try bluffing her. But so this is the one where they really get to know Kyo a little bit. They get to know Yuki is hanging back. And actually this was one that introduced an interesting dynamic here. Like
it also introduced Momichi in this episode.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get to him in a minute. But there is an important dynamic. It's one of the reasons why Kyo and Yuki resent each other so much. And it really comes to the fore at school. Because Kyo is a loner. He is very mistrustful of everyone. And people kind of look at him as this wild guy, but he attracts people and he's at ease with them compared to Yuki, who's he doesn't mesh well with others. It's why he has the reputation of being the prince, because he's set apart, because he doesn't really interact with others. And Kyo comes into school and within a day, he's hanging out with Uotani and Hanajima and Toru playing cards in class. And he's already got a couple guy friends. And Yuki's watching like, the hell? It's like, it's kind of interesting how they, how differently they do. But yeah, you're right. You said this is the one where they introduced Momiji?
Yeah, because Toru goes to work,
right?
And we find Momiji there, because it's his dad's office.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Toru doesn't know that at first. I guess he ends up being the first Soma to seek her out, because she quickly becomes famous with the Somas.
Oh yeah,
because it's so rare that an outsider learns the secret that once
Well,
the secret gets out.
Well, that Aikido allows them to keep their memory.
Yeah,
she doesn't learn the secret here about Momiji.
No, no.
It's not until they're in school making rice balls that she learns about that.
Well, that it was
have her hug him.
It's the festival, right? Yeah. So he but he kind of does an oblique introduction. He comes in and, you know, she thinks that he's like, I think she thinks he's like the child of one of the people that she, you know, that just works there. Like she doesn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
She's right. The person works there.
Yeah. This is true. But and he's an interesting character, very lively, and
it's a little bit more creepy how touchy-feely he is when you realize how old he actually is.
Yeah.
Well, he let's just say this kid's a late bloomer. It's like when he the last couple chapters, he's a totally different character. But anyway, in some ways.
Well, shoot, and quite a few, but you have to go into a lot to get to that, which we can't do that this time.
Right,
but,
right. Yeah. I'm not sure it's quite as creepy as How Friendly Shigure is, but
this series has. I mean, I know we were talking. It's like, well, the series is nowhere near as creepy as the original series. Like, I don't know, because if you think about it, there is a lot of time spent towards high school girls going out with upper 20 something old
most of which we don't touch on this early in the series, but
that's pretty much later series, and I mean it relates to both of Taru's or friends.
Well,
as much as I dislike the thing there with the Shigure, doing the high school girl thing, as it's creepy, but it doesn't really, it's not that out of place, unfortunately, with how the series goes romantically.
And he actually does end up with someone somewhat more age appropriate, but he's still younger. But
now I will say the idea in America, it's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
In Japan, you could have an engaged couple of someone Shigure's age and someone Taru's age at that point in time.
Right. Well, again,
the laws have changed in the last year or so, a little bit more, but.
Well, again, a little more on that, later on. This early on, we don't see much of any of that. But we do, Momiji is essentially, he is a little bit of a Shotokan character, though. A little bit.
Yes,
because he definitely is played off as younger than he really should be. Plus, he likes to wear girls' clothes. So that's kind of, it adds to the idea of youth and cuteness and all that stuff. And
he's not the only one.
Right. Well, there are a couple others that do that in different ways. But yeah. So I guess the fourth one is What Year Is She, which I'm going to say is Kagura's introduction. And Kagura is interesting. I'm reminded of
episode 4 is when her grandfather says to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when he's in that?
When they finish their repairs, anyway.
Yeah.
Was it
that? That was before. Yeah, it was before Kagura.
It was that early on?
Yep. Episode 4.
I could have sworn it was a little bit more before then. But and that wasn't.
No. I stand mistaken. No, it is Kagura 4.
Well, again,
I apparently clicked the wrong link here.
Well, again, I'm looking at the title. Sure. What year is she? That specifically is Toru's response, because she meets someone who openly hugs Kyo, and she's like, "Oh, she's obviously in the Zodiac," and Shigure's like, okay, well, what year is she? Like, and then finally when she transforms, Toru's like, I get it. She's the boar. And he's like, it doesn't count now.
Kagura is, of course, we'll point this out. She's the boar, but she is a very aggressive, overly friendly character who's latched on to Kyo as a relationship.
She believes, and as the series goes on, she has reasons to reevaluate her belief. But she believes that she actually loves Kyo and that she's the only one who can love Kyo. And she is, I'm reminded of Kasumi Tendo's description of Akane, that she's really a very sweet girl. She's just a violent maniac.
yeah, appropriate for Kagura. She is. She lives. I mean, most of the characters live out a bit of their personality of what animal they are. Shigure being the very playful and while he is, an ass, he is also loyal to a degree.
Well, Shigure is a little like he's a literal hound dog in a lot of ways. So he really lives up to the dog role.
Kyo has the sleeping habits and likes to climb up on the roof, and
also just his loner tendencies, his self-reliance. Like he tries really hard.
He's very much like a cat where they'll be fussy and whatnot at the beginning, but they'll warm up to you and they'll cherish you at that point. And then Yuki's very sort of mousy, keeps to himself, and that nature. And in Kagura's case,
and also again,
he's
the rat. Rats are known to be very cunning, very clever, very what's the word I'm looking for? Resourceful. So he is that too. And
so in Kagura's case, she's very brash. Very forward, but also very unfocused. She won't focus on, the task in front of her. She'll just bash through it.
Right.
Well, I mean, she's a case of somebody that wants to hate Toru in a lot of ways, but after getting to know Toru, can't hate Toru. It's just like that she is somebody that, for the most part, when people get to know her, it's almost impossible to hate her. I mean, that actually goes all the way to the extreme end. Even if you go to get to the end of the series, people that you would never think would do that, but she's just. I think that is where when Jacob was saying maybe a Mary Sue type character, where she is overpowered because she has that ability to win over almost anybody.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and throw out at this point. Then I'll go ahead and say what I was going to say before, and I commented on this Monday on our discussion on Inside Movies Galore. Check it out. We looked at No Country for Old Men, and a couple weeks ago we looked at Sicario, and I put out the observation that I did not think about until I finished watching No Country this time around. And I realized that for my birthday month, I chose two of the bleakest, darkest, most depressing depictions of the rotten nature of humanity and human nature, and then paired them with a show about a girl who is the living embodiment of hope, who is literally a force of nature who heals all the broken people around her. And they're all broken, all of them to some degree or another.
I've got to point out to you why she's not a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
She has flaws.
She does have flaws. She absolutely
Mary Sue has no flaws.
And I will point out that, again, that was my initial reaction. Having read the manga and watched this version, I understand her flaws a lot better than I did before.
Yeah.
she definitely she's a worrywart for one. She never stops.
She's a worrywart. She is not good at school, even though she's forcing herself through it.
Which we do have that episode coming up eventually, which is hilarious.
It's funny how most people had assumed that at least her one friend was really smart because she was reserved, and it's like, I am an idiot, actually.
Well, we eventually find out that Anhedenia probably failed the tests on purpose because the makeups were easier.
Yes. Yeah. I believe she just fails it on purpose. But yeah. But yes, Anhedenia is one of the ones where it's like, oh, you're definitely the smart one. She's like, no, I'm gonna fail it.
She's a cheerful idiot in some ways.
Damn. Well, cheerful in the concept that she is a goth girl.
Now, I think you might be. You might have been thinking episode 5 for her moving back temporarily.
Yeah, episode 5 is moving back. I accidentally clicked one instead of the other because I'm looking at the list here.
I think this one, the title I have here is "I've Been Fooling Myself," and that's appropriate because basically her grandfather calls and says, "Remodeling's done. You can move back in." And this is where we meet the rest of her family, and. Well, let's just say she and her grandfather, they don't really fit with these people. These people there.
The movie actually does a great job of fleshing it out when we finally get to meet Toru's father, which I will say, I'm not going to put too much out of it. I know we're just a second, but I do find it hilarious that in the movie, he presents his father as this really overbearing, tough guy. Then when she finally meets him and he's basically like he is in the series, she's like, what is this? Like, well, I told you he got softer.
Right. And he is a real softy. He's a really nice guy. And he's living with these horrible people who hired a private detective to make sure that Toru was not being,
not sleeping around.
Right. And it's basically the way they see it is her mother was such a, and we'll get to, more on
her mother was a delinquent, to be fair.
Yes. Her mother was an infamous delinquent. The Crimson Butterfly, which is, I just love the reactions people have when Toru cheerfully tells them about her mother. It's like, they're like, what? But yeah, it's, she goes home. She's very apologetic. She's already kind of started to feel like she's at home. And of course, Kyo and Yuki are both less than thrilled. Although they're both kind of not good at expressing this. They end up going, she ends up going back, and her, I guess, cousins, in-laws, whatever you would call them, are just saying these really horrible things to her until the grandfather out of nowhere just cold cock, well, not really cold cocks, but just straight up
he slaps them straight.
Yeah, and they're all shocked. They're like, and he basically tells her, you don't have to put up with these people. This is, I have to put up with these people. You shouldn't have to put up with these people. And I think it was right then that the other two showed up out of the blue. And we come to find out they were watching at the window all through this whole scene. And they basically rescued her, took her back to Shiguri's place. Yep. And that's basically when she officially became a resident of the house instead of just a temporary boarder. So that's essentially that one.
And then we're gonna go into
perhaps we should invite ourselves over,
which starts with the festival.
Is this the starts with
Yep,
the festival?
I'm looking at the gallery of that episode right now.
Okay.
We have Yuki in the dress. Again,
Oh,
like
yes.
I said,
He did not
Momiji's
like-
not the only one that goes in girl and drag. It's
He did not like that though, one bit. He eventually comes out and says, "I have a complex about this," and Toru's like, "Oh no, I thought you were cute too."
Well, there's so many that make fun of him in that way
Yeah.
because they look at him as more beautiful than handsome.
Yeah.
And
we also meet Hadahori in this one, and
Right.
he gets the two of them to smile because tricks the two of them into smiling because Akito wanted a picture of the two of them.
Right. I believe we do see briefly Akito, right?
Not in this one, I don't believe.
Okay, so
I
this
think you
was
get a flash of him from the car.
that's
No,
what I
wait.
was gonna say. I thought this was the one where we saw just a brief look in the car, but maybe that was a later episode. But yeah, this is the one where we find out Momiji because Momiji hugs Toru himself.
At the
And,
festival,
Yeah. But then this is the one where Hanejima and Otani invite themselves over. And this is the one where the original version had Shigure bustling about high school girls, which they left that part out. They just cut right to them coming over. And basically they were acting like old hens, making sure that Toru's living space was appropriate for her. And yeah.
Sadly, Shigure's personality isn't all that different from what they did in the other one. It was just they made it less overt.
It is toned down, and they played up his slothfulness and his cunning more than the perversion. Like I think the first version they played him more as a silly pervert.
I am curious how it would have gone if they did continue under this. Which, of course, I think the manga was still being written when the first one came out.
It was still being written. It's like Full Metal Alchemist, the original series. The series was still being written.
Right.
So
I guess we'll never know.
And then, of course, we have Spring Comes, which is the one where we see more from Hattori. Because he invites Toru out to the compound. It's her first time going into the compound, but he tells her not to tell anyone. Basically, Shigure finds out, but she kind of the others have no idea.
Yeah,
but
this time we also get introduced effectively to Kido, not in a good way though.
Yeah. It's a fleeting thing, but we do get a little bit of a but this is also where we get introduced fully to the idea that a lot of people who learn the secret lose the secret. Because this is the one where we learn about Hattori's former fling, his ex, who they were close. It was a big thing, and Akito could not handle it and forced him. Hattori is the one who does the memory erasures.
Yeah,
he forced him to erase his own. Actually, what he did was he injured him,
which plays into the form of his zodiac. So he is the zodiac of the dragon.
Yeah.
But his form is a seahorse. And there's a Japanese myth and legend about seahorses being the masters of dreams and memories.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Of course, Hattori eventually lets... I think Momiji is the one that tells Toru the backstory. But after Toru finds out his form, she apparently has the exact same reaction that it was Kana, right? Kana?
Yeah, Kana.
Was his. She apparently had the same reaction that Kana did. And then at one point, he asks her straight. Well, they find out that Kana's getting married again, and she seems to be happy. So Hattori's heartbroken, but he's also happy for her.
Yeah.
But he asks Toru what happens. Oh, it starts snowing. And he asks her, what do you think happens when snow melts? And she says, spring comes, which apparently is basically the same thing that Kana said. And he kind of sees her as like, yeah, I think he is starting to wonder, like, okay, where is this a chance for her to make? He sees a kindred spirit, and he's to this former person that had not been able to move forward with the Somas, and I think he's curious to know what will happen now. And ultimately, Hattori does end up becoming kind of a quiet protector of Toru. You don't really see it right away, but he does.
He is the adult of the Zodiac, in my opinion.
Well, and actually, you guys can tell me if I'm remembering this wrong, but if I'm remembering it correctly, we don't meet the rooster for a long time.
No, we don't meet the rooster until mid-season 2.
We don't meet him for a long time, but if I'm not mistaken, him aside, and I don't remember how old he is, the trio, Hattori, Shigure, and Ayame, are the old ones, right?
Yes.
They are all basically the same age. They were all school chums. We haven't met Ayame yet, but
it would then be the rooster, the horse, Kagura, and
the horse,
and
Rin, Ritsu, and Kagura are all the same age, right? Or close to the same age?
Close to the same age.
Yeah, they're close to the same age. They're all college age. And then, so the what was I going to say? The I think we go now to See You When You Get Back, which is, what's that one? I'm drawing a blank.
See You When You Get Back is...
Oh, that's the one, I think, where we learn more about...
we learn more about the family.
That's what Toru wanted to say to her mother and didn't get to.
Yeah.
She was so upset she didn't get to. So I think we learn a little more about that and what happened there.
The Somas have to go to the festival. It is a requirement, and they make Kiyo sit outside.
The New Year's festival? Yeah.
Yeah, and they always make Kiyo sit outside, even though he has to come.
Right. And Kiyo and Yuki end up at the very last minute, I think, holding back.
Yeah.
Was this was the episode, right, where basically they were ready to go, they were going, and then they ran into Hanajima, who basically said she's never been alone on New Year's.
Yeah.
And that just because they couldn't invite her over. Like we haven't really gotten into her friends' families yet, but neither one of them really had the ability to host her. For various reasons.
Well, New Year's is effectively in Japan what Christmas is to us,
right?
And Christmas to them is what New Year's is to us,
right? To a degree, yeah.
To a degree,
like Christmas is more, almost more like. From what I understand, almost
it's a date night.
Valentine's. Yeah,
it's a date night basically. Yeah. There is Christmas celebrations. It's opened up more thanks to Kentucky Fried Chicken, of all people. But New Year's is the family affair. You have to you get together as a family. You celebrate it as a family,
right?
For 5 days.
Yeah. And of course, we find out afterwards that Akito was none too thrilled that Yuki skipped. None too thrilled. But that was a big one, and because it does show that while Toru is this bubbling font of positivity, she does definitely miss her mother. And this was a big emotional time for her. And so this was like, I guess, one of the first times where Yuki and Kyo finally started to get that. I guess in a way they didn't.
Yeah.
And then we get into 9 is Yuki was my first love. And this is where we meet Hatsuharu.
Yep.
the ox. The one who was played by Keanu Reeves in that wonderful AMV that I always remember. I love that one. But the Hatsuharu is a very interesting character. He's very laconic. He has a, I guess it goes for sort of like a cool style, but he doesn't really go like, it's sort of like the laid back, I don't really give a damn kind of style. But he seems slow. He's slow to speak, and he doesn't seem like the sharpest tool in the room, but he's extremely perceptive about other people, especially Yuki. And he says, straight up, my first love.
Yeah, but he also has a dark side, and his dark side is he just like a bull and to a flag, red flag, boom,
yes.
it just snaps on.
Yes, like a bull with a red flag. That's a good way to put it. The Dark Haru is odd, and someone to let's just say troublemaker is how most people would probably call him, but he actually this episode he's introduced because there's a marathon going on. The school it was school sort of jog marathon thing, and I absolutely love one of the running gags throughout the episode is that at the beginning Uotani is sitting out because she has hay fever, so she's like, I can't do it, but Hanejima and Toru are all getting ready. They're hyping each other up and they're getting ready to go. And of course, Toru gets off to kind of a slow start after the other girls have. Hanejima basically takes one step and then collapses and says, I can't go on. And she basically sits there at the school gate playing cards for the rest of the episode. And the teacher's like, if you're not going to run, go home. And by the end of the episode, I think Shiguri and Kyo have joined her.
Yeah.
But it's so this was the one where Yuki has a cold, and Toru is freaking out about it because again, her father died, and she's like super sensitive to colds. It's like she's trying really hard to get him to relax, but Kyo's like hears about they're doing a marathon and he's like, challenge, and won't let Yuki live it down. Like Yuki's like, there's no way I can miss this now. And while they're on their run, Hatsuharu pulls a string across the path, and basically, I believe, if I remember correctly, after Kyo does his pretty dangerous pratfall, Haru like turns to the camera and says, "Don't do this at home." It's basically like he wanted to challenge Kyo because they used to be martial arts students together.
Yeah,
and he apparently also has a little bit of yoga in him because apparently he's spent 3 days looking for Kyo.
Yeah,
and
it's a thing to note. Also, I mean, I don't think we brought it up that Haru is now going to school. It's a new school year.
Uh-huh.
Haru is going to school with Momiji.
Yeah.
They're the same age. They're the grade under the rest of them.
Yes. Which is a shock to Toru when they announce that they're coming to her school, and she cannot. She looks at the two of them and she can't square that they're the same age. They're like, she thought Momiji was in grade school, like elementary school. And yes, he does look quite young. I mean, if she saw him and Hiro side by side, she'd probably think they were the same age. But
yeah,
it's which I'm pretty sure Hiro is the youngest member of the Zodiac.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't met him just yet. But so we got Hatsuharu shows up. We get that little introduction. He talks about the past with Yuki and how he had been told as a child that the rat's no good, the rat tricked you, and all that stuff. And he hated the rat. And that he said that was where Dark Haru came out originally.
Haru fan, thank you for the jumping in. I love Fruits Basket. It's my third favorite anime. Curious on your second and first.
Mm-hmm.
Given you've got an Oshinoko image there.
I still need to see Oshinoko one day.
Yeah, I know that. I need to get the second season.
Yeah.
Now that it's out, I'm just waiting for the next Sentai sale.
Right. Yeah.
Same. I need to get the second season. I also need to get the third season of Konosuba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I have season 3 yet either. I need to do that. But anyway, yeah, I'm always curious some of these. But yeah, so what do we got here? We got it's Valentine's after all, which of course, we talked about Valentine's a little bit ago, but of course here, Valentine's is the girls give the guys chocolate. And Yuki is very shocked. Everyone's shocked at first that he opens up his locker and there's one chocolate inside. And then Hanajima offers up the so-called cuckoo effect, where each girl threw out the other chocolate. And she's like, the evidence is here. And sure enough, there is a trash can nearby that is overflowing with chocolates. But Toru, of course, made chocolates for everybody. And I mean, pretty much everybody.
Everyone. Fan.
What's up?
Oshinoko is my favorite anime. I watched the new Oshinoko episode a little while ago. Oh. I will be joining you after this stream. I'll be watching that episode.
Okay. What season is it up to? Is it on 3?
It is on season 3.
Okay. Good to know. I really want to. I've been kind of slacking. I have season 1, but
I mean, shoot, it took me this long to get through this one, and I had all of this series together for ages.
Yeah, I wish I did. Anyway, so it's kind of the obligatory Valentine's story, but of course, you're especially not going to have a shoujo series without a Valentine's episode.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on whether there's any other major highlights in this episode. Do y'all remember anything that we need to hit before we do the next one?
I mean, this is the first episode the editor appears.
Okay. The editor, the poor, abused editor.
Yes. I mean, you have to feel for the editor with what Shigure puts her through.
Shigure is a freaking ass to her. Yeah. It's like every time there's a deadline, he finds a way to not be there. And you'd think she'd be wise to it by now, but it's, yeah. And I feel for her, but oh my God, does she whine about it? Like I said, I do feel for her because he really is a jerk to her, but And then we have This Is a Wonderful Inn. And this is where we're introduced to one of the most irritating characters in the whole show. But basically, this is the White Day episode where, of course, the response to Valentine's is the guys who received the chocolates give a gift in return on White Day. And Momiji decides to hook Toru up with a trip to a hot spring. It just so happens the Somas run a hot spring. So he gets everyone, Shigure and Kyo. Well, no, Shigure can't go. He gets Kyo and Yuki to go with. and they go, and I believe Hattori goes with them too. I believe he's the driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faturo fan again. I don't know about you guys. Jacob, you've been reading it through the library. I want to get the Fruits Basket Collection edition.
They're nice.
That it's the book, the manga collector's edition. I want to get that. The Oshinoko, I think I want to try and see if they're going to do a hardcover release of those, like they're doing with some of the other more adult titles.
I don't think we have Oshinoko in the library, so I haven't looked into it too hard. But it is one I want to read as well. I'm very curious about that overall. I've just heard such good things.
It's over. The manga's over now. And it's like most series. It's got a mixed review in the end.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. A lot of them do.
I know what occurs, so I mean, but I'm not going to spoil it here.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of I probably would collect it personally in my own collection. For book wise, I don't know if I'm gonna keep collecting the anime. We'll see, but they also have the Ruby action figure. Yes,
good times. All right, so let's see here. So they go to the inn, and this is where they meet Ritsu's mother, and I can't remember her name offhand, but we learn about. She tells Toru. She tells Toru that my son is the monkey. She tells him that. But first, we're introduced to her, and I've got to say, Ritsu's mother is more annoying to me than Ritsu.
I have to say, she doesn't have a name.
Both of them.
It's Ritsu's mother. Well, it's innkeeper. It's the innkeeper. What they call her.
They are so
annoying. Yes.
So apologetic. Like Shiguri's editor is constantly apologizing for being a bad editor. She's like talking about how horrible her life is, all that kind of stuff. But she is nothing on these two. These two apologize about everything at top volume, and to the point where they frighten people with their apologies, and it's
like lemon grab.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
Yes. And it's irritating. Like, they're actually decent people, and Ritsu in particular is a very decent person. I don't have any real issues with Ritsu when they're not going off the deep end, but when they are going off the deep end, but their mother, oh my god, she annoyed me. I'm kind of glad she's just in the one episode. I think she may show up again once or twice, but basically she's in this episode. And it's an interesting episode. It's the obligatory hot springs episode, a lot of it is typical hot springs hijinks, and it
even
does.
Though this series has 2 beach episodes.
Yeah.
Or beach moments. There's several episodes at the beach.
Right.
So.
Technically, you could say the movie has a beach moment.
Well, yeah. And again, I put that movie cover forward for our best poster cover art, and I still say that is a really great poster. But anyway, so then we get to you look like you're having fun.
This is where Akito and Toru meet.
Yes, this is the one. This is the entrance ceremony for Momiji and Hatsuharu, right?
Yeah.
And Akito showed up for that.
Yeah.
And this is where where they meet face to face, and Akito is close to cordial as they tend to get to anyone, which is still very standoffish and not.
Well, I think that the whole introduction would have actually not even registered all that much if Yuki hadn't shown up.
But
and
Yuki
of course,
shows
being
up.
being Akito's favorite punching bag, well, there was no stopping
Yeah.
at that point.
Yuki saw Akito talking to Toru and immediately rushed to her aid, but you could tell that Yuki is scared shitless about Akito. Yuki does not. It's not a pleasant.
Now I am going to correct one thing that you thought you said or thought were thinking, Jacob. In the English dub, the reason Akito's voice was changed was originally in the 2001 we were not revealed Akito's gender.
Well, there's a reason why I called Akito
by a male actor.
That's why I called they, because I was trying to be ambiguous.
We don't want to reveal too much. I don't want things to be spoiled like they were for me, for other people, since we're not covering those parts. If we were covering the whole series, then that would be one thing.
I had noticed.
They changed to Colleen Klinkenbeard, who plays Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah.
So she's used for androgynous voices.
Yes.
Yeah,
that which makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And we probably just gave a lot away right there. But
not really. I mean, they kind of do address Akito as she in this episode.
Do they?
Yeah.
I must
at least in the dub. At least in the dub, they do refer to her as she.
I must have missed
that part. To where it was looked at by other people, and there's a whole bunch that don't know that.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. In the manga, again, having just read that's still fresh in my mind. At some point later on, they straight up say that most people in the family believe Akito is male.
Yeah, well, they still say that. But I mean, when you have the somas or the direct, people, the direct family members that are affected by the curse, they know.
Well, actually, in the manga, most of them didn't know. From what I remember, it's the older ones do. Shigure, Hattori, Ayame, they absolutely know. But the younger ones, not all of them know. But yeah, they're.
Well, yeah, I was kind of I'll admit it was kind of sad that part was spoiled for me originally, which we spoiled it for anybody who actually was only here for season 1.
I was trying not to. I was really trying not to, but I know I did some slips of the tongue there. But anyway, whatever the case, we've got that where there's that very awkward meeting between Akito and Yuki. This is the episode where Toru finds out Momiji is 1 year younger than her and is shocked. And
I would be shocked. I mean, the kid does not look like he is in a freaking middle school, out of middle school at this point, going into high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, I think it was the episode where Hattori and Momiji showed up at the festival, where Toru found out she was working in a Soma building and didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten much about Momiji's family. Right. I think there was probably like a scene where he mentions that that his mother, about his mother, he likes his mother and whatnot. But he does mention, he's like, but not everyone, not all the mothers that are accepting of them, hinting at what will be later revealed about him.
Right. Yeah, I think, because he is the one who makes the observation that in the Soma family, when a child is born to a child of the Zodiac is born and hugs their mother for the first time, or father, as the case may be, I guess, with the female characters, and they transform, instantly the parents tend to either reject the child outright or become very protective.
Yeah.
One or the other. There's not really much middle ground there, apparently. And eventually we see both sides of this coin. Actually, Ritsu's mother is an example of the one that became overly protective. Like,
yeah.
to the point where, yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as bad with the fathers. I think it's more with the mothers because it's the concept of you give birth to something and you try to love it, and
True.
it's suddenly an animal.
But when it comes to it, do we know? I'm trying to remember in my mind. Do we know anything about the relationship of any of the female zodiac and their fathers? I don't think we do.
Not really. I mean, it's the only parent we learn about is from the female. I think we do meet Kagura's mother at one point.
I think so, but I can't remember.
But I mean, even when we get Reen in here later,
a lot of
season,
the parents are kind of distant.
Kisa's mom's overprotective.
She was overprotective to the point where it was wearing her out. Yeah, that
does happen this season.
Yes, and we'll get to that very soon, actually. So we got that one. Then we got How Have You Been, My Brother? This is where we meet Ayame, who one of the most flamboyant characters in the whole show.
Whole show, whole of anime. This dude is flamboyant.
Ayame is a character. He's introduced in the most. Okay, so one of the running themes is he desperately wants his brother's affection. But how is he introduced? He rides home to Shigure's house inside Toru's clothes. Which is not going to endear him to.
So Ayame being the snake zodiac.
Yes, he is the snake. So on cold days, he has a tendency to transform just from the cold. And so they're out walking, and I think were they out at Yuki's secret base, or was this
they may have been at Yuki's secret base. This is the first time I think we also learned that some of them are affected by weather, because we later in this season learn Kyo doesn't like the rain.
Yeah, the rain has a big impact on him. And then, I think we also saw that a few of them are not crazy about extremes of weather. I think they mention it in passing, but this is probably the first time we see it. Because Toru is walking back to the house, and she comes across a pile of basically Chinese-style clothes just sitting in the path, and she sees rustling, and then something runs right up her pants leg. And it's Ayame seeking warmth. But needless to say, Yuki, I think, grabbed the snake and held it out and said, "Skin this now," or something.
Yeah. Yuki and Ayame do not. Well, Ayame loves Yuki, but Yuki does not love Ayame.
Well, and later on, I think it is this episode where Ayame takes Toru out for a treat and tells her a little bit about how Yuki's parents and Ayame basically ignored Yuki, left him with Akito pretty much. And Ayame regrets never making an effort. And now he's overcompensating for those years of neglect.
And that's part of the reason why Yuki has so much of a trauma.
Yeah.
Was his time with Akito.
Well, yeah. Then, of course, I mean, this is Akito was even for the series at this point. Yeah. Akito is not stable mentally.
Right.
There's a lot of cruelness to them. There's a lot of almost downright evil.
Yeah.
That's why the ending kind of surprises me of the series, which again, I'm not going to spoil any more than we've already spoiled.
And we'll spoil it when we eventually get to that season.
Incidentally, I don't think anyone's put this out yet. Apparently, Fotaro Fan gave us some listings of their favorite characters.
Of Momichi, Hatsusuru, Kisa, Kyo, Yuki,
I
and
posted it, but
okay.
y'all were busy and I didn't want to interrupt.
I missed that. Yeah. So I am. This is also where we find out, like I think we may have had it mentioned in passing, but this is where we find out that Ayame is the third musketeer, and that Ayame and Shigure raised hell over the years, and Hattori had to be the adult in the room.
Poor Hattori. Poor Hattori. You could only imagine the school years with them.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is interesting as you learn more about them and you go later in the series. Like they go over the high school years later on when they talk about Yuki and the class president stuff.
Yeah, and they find out that Ayame had been class president, and Yuki is shocked. Like,
yeah.
But this was the one, wasn't it, where Ayame insisted on telling them why he was allowed to wear long hair in high school, and basically he's just telling such an absurd story that the principal was like, whatever. It's like, just do it. No, I don't care. I really don't. Yeah.
And I'll say this: there's a lot of gender fluidity to the series with the characters,
absolutely.
but none of it's necessarily what it seems on the surface. Even then, I mean, shoot, I had actually originally thought that the character was gay, but apparently not.
That's the thing. I mean, it's a lot of shoujo. A lot of shoujo is gender fluid. But it's not, it doesn't get into homosexuality or actual trans. Occasionally we get trans a bit, but it's not as much of an issue so much as the actual relationship. I mean, I'm watching a current show, or at least 2 current shoujos that have both female characters being a little bit more masculine.
I mean, I do find it interesting because there's one character that comes across as definitely trans, but then they walk it back towards the end.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say any more than that, but that kind of disappointed me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that at the beginning. Like Ayame, again, is very flamboyant, wears like the Chinese dress style clothing, which Yuki tends to wear kind of Chinese clothing too, but not as flamboyant.
He owns a dress shop. So.
And what is it he describes it as? He says something like, I sell men's dreams or something like that.
Yes, I sell men's dreams.
And Toru's like, what does that mean? And then one of her friends says something very blunt about it. I can't remember exactly. But basically, we were talking before, though, about how characters kind of fit their characters, their animals. Like we talked about how Haru flips almost like a bull seeing red. Momiji bounces around like a little rabbit and is full of energy and very, high strung and not high strung, but like very alert and very, Ayame is one of the weirdest ones. I'm not 100% convinced.
Snake changing skin.
That makes some sense. But other than that, and I was thinking today, like, it's weird that he has like this long flowing hair, and some of the characters have like the colors that match their hair or whatever. It's weird that he has plain white hair when that is very odd, if not unheard of for a snake in the wild.
I will say another personality I do see in him. Now, I hate snakes. Don't you dare bring a snake near me. But
very silly. Go ahead.
Snakes are actually pretty affectionate when it's something that they are attached to.
I'm not sure I would say affectionate is a great term for a snake, but
well, most people wouldn't. That's the thing.
Well, basically, my point being that, like, if we're looking at, as far as the physicality, for one, your idea of shedding skins, that's a good plan. I had not thought of it that way. But, like, for example, Kyo is an orange cat with orange hair. You know, Hatsuharu has white and black hair. And actually, I love the
proved it.
I love the part where he proved it. Yes,
where the teacher's like, "I don't believe you," and he
no, I don't think that was. I don't think that was the teacher. I think that was the student president, like the student.
Okay, yeah, it was the student president. I think in the original anime, it was a teacher, not the student president. But yeah,
it would make more. It would make more sense with Ayame if either he had some sort of weird, wild pattern to his hair, or if he had no hair at all. If he was bald, that would make perfect sense for a snake character.
Snake. He's a white snake.
Yeah, white. Well, I guess it's just like I said, white, and it doesn't work well in the wild. Snakes are cryptic, and they usually hide.
I think
it could have been albino.
That again, in the wild.
I think there is a Japanese snake that is white.
There are a couple that are basically subterranean species that are white because there's not much need for pigment. But
and the reason I say that is this isn't the first time we see a white snake in anime. And a lot of times I can think of, I'm thinking of Orochimaru in Naruto is white.
Yeah. Of course, that was a big ass snake.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, I agree. It would have been nice if there were more episodes. But then again, if they did a great job of getting the manga, I don't know how. Well, are they making animes of the other series? Because there are a couple related series.
Fruits Basket?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Because I know there's another as a sequel, and I think there was another one that was like a spin-off, but I don't remember for sure.
They have only the video releases.
Yeah.
Which these days would be DVDs, direct releases, and any future release.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt it. And the reason I say I doubt it is it's a matter of popularity for the title. You could have an author that's really famous, and their popularity of the title will designate if it became an anime.
Right. So let's see here. Where are we at? We've got.
Oh, yeah. I do. Actually, I will say to just answer to the comment that was put in, though, I will say that I think having the movie and the series as it is, I am happy that what we have, even if we don't get anything else, at least they wrap up pretty much everything in the story. So I can't really be unhappy with that.
It's definitely one of those series. It is a series that pretty much ties all the ends.
Right.
So there's no loose ends in the end.
Yeah, because because I do that be careful what you wish for thing, because you never know who might grab a hold of the rights to do extra episodes.
And that is the fear a lot of studios have with Netflix getting anime. That they will dictate the shows to continue on.
All right. So next up, we've got That's a Secret. And this is, which one is this one?
And that's a secret. This is the episode where we learn about Mobiji, but it's also Taru's mother's funeral.
Okay.
Where they go to honor her at the
funeral.
So
where the grave visit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Toru and Otani, and she very politely asks for a day off because they're going to go visit her mother. And of course, Otani and Hanajima are going with her. And Shigure kind of guilts the other two into going along. But
Yuki's willing to go along, but Kyo is quiet, and he's pretty much quiet the entire episode.
And eventually we come to realize there are reasons why Kyo was reluctant. I don't think we get to that in this season though.
But we also meet Moichi's mother.
Yes.
This is where we really learn about the mothers.
And this is where I think this is where we really learn Momiji's backstory, and it is pretty tragic. It's
where his mother I had to correct myself because in our conversation I said, "Oh, I don't understand why you got the German." Apparently, they lived together with her memories up until about age 4 to 5.
Right.
So that's where he gets his German accent.
And also, again, I think it is, I said it was an affectation, but I think it is like Toru in the politeness. I think it's his way of keeping her alive in his, life, even if they can't be,
And I think the fact that she has another child after what she does to herself is kind of surprising.
Well, she didn't remember it.
No, she still did the damage. There's no getting away from the damage of what she did herself.
Well, yeah. But I mean, she didn't really remember having had a child and and then she names the child Momo. So apparently she's got her mind set on a particular name.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where this is where we find out why Momiji really does hang around the building as much as he does. And it's kind of his way of watching over them, without really. He says straight up, she thinks I belong to one of the other Somas. Like, she knows he's a Soma, but that's it. And like I said, it's a very, very sad backstory. And Momiji
very sad episode. I mean, you go from Momiji's story into Taro's mother backstory of how she died, and how she technically lived and treated the girl, not only her daughter but her friends.
Well, this is where we started to find out, like, this is where they really start peeling back the layers of how these two ended up with Toru. We really get into that later in the season, but this is where we really, and then they go and Kyo kind of wanders off and gets brought back to find that they've set up a picnic right in front of the, and he's like, what?
It's unusual. It's not unheard of in Japan, but it is unusual. You don't normally picnic with the dead.
Well, considering that Uotani doesn't seem to be too hung up on norms, and considering the Hanajima is kind of the spiritual sister of Wednesday Addams in a lot of ways, it makes perfect sense.
Especially the Netflix at Wednesday Addams.
Right. She is not nearly as dreary and dour as that version of Wednesday, but but
I mean through the powers and all that concept. So
it's a different power, but it's in the same. So and then I wouldn't say that is the next one, and that is
where they go to the cabin in the woods with Ayame and Hotohori.
The lakefront episode, basically, where where they finally get Hotohori to actually rest. They actually get him to sit and enjoy a book, which he admits he hasn't done in way too long.
It just happens to be one of Shigure's books.
So enjoy might not be the right word, but and there was some notable stuff that goes here, but I don't really honestly remember much that stands out for this episode specifically. I know
there's not much. There's a brief moment where Kyo and Yuki transform when they're trying to help Taru from falling.
She almost falls off a cliff, and they transform trying to save her, and they all kind of end up in a heap together, and it's kind of some fun little character building, relationship building moments, but And then the next one, she said, "Don't step on them." Is that that's the one where they go?
It's the beginning of Uotani's backstory.
So it's the one where they go shopping for a swimsuit.
Yeah.
Because Toru only has her school swimsuit, and everyone else thinks it's tragic. And she's like, "It's still usable. I'll get it when I need one."
Just as an answer to the comment here, I will say that there are much worse anime to have as your first anime.
Oh yes. God, yes.
Yes, I know.
Oh, God, yes.
Brandon showed me Excel Saga as one of my first.
Oh, you loved it.
That's Jacob's first. Brandon, I know mine, and you know your. What was your first anime, Brandon, that you can think of?
They see that's therein is the question, because is it the anime that you realize is an anime?
Yeah, because technically I saw Transformers and Superbook before I saw anything that I knew was
the first anime that I knew was an anime was probably Ranma, or Sailor Moon. I couldn't tell you which one, because technically I think I saw Sailor Moon first, but I didn't know what anime was when I saw it. So I think that Ranma was the first one that I saw when I realized, okay, this was actually.
Did you say Cities of Gold was your first one officially?
What was that?
Didn't you say Cities of Gold was your first one?
My first actual anime, probably it could have been Mysterious Cities of Gold. It could have been Unico. It could have been.
See, those aren't terrible choices. Mine was Superbook. And Flying House. Mine was Superbook and Flying House, because the church decided, Sunday school, that they weren't going to teach, and they were just going to put those two on the television for children to watch.
So it could be a lot worse, because again, Superbook definitely qualifies. Arguably, Transformers might.
The brother showed you Ninja Scroll.
Yes, the first one I saw that I knew was an anime. Count yourself lucky it wasn't Ninja Scroll. That is the best way to scare someone away from anime, at least if they have any taste. But
that I knew was anime would have been Project 8-Go.
No, that's fun.
Ooh, good one.
Yep. So
I saw that early on myself, but that was but I knew what anime was by the time I got to that. That was when I was actually seeking out anime on the Sci-Fi Channel.
So we have this thing where they go where basically Hanajima and Uotani go to the Somas and say, let's do this as a thank you for Toru. Mm-hmm. And they drag Yuki and Kyo along. And they're like, we can't pick out a swimsuit. And they're like, you can at least pick out the color, right? And then everyone gives a different answer. And then I think Hanajima's the one that's like pink, obviously. It's like, because Kyoko was red and her father was white, so Toru is pink. And I was like, hard to argue with that logic, right? So they get that. They do like a little pool episode, a little bit of a pool, and then the what am I saying? The that's where they go to a restaurant or fast food joint, probably a fast food joint, and Toru or Uotani starts talking about how they came to be friends, and she talks about how she was a delinquent, which of course, everyone kind of knows by now is her reputation. But she was like a full-on spit venom at the world. I'm going to just show everyone who's boss, kind of, take nothing from anyone. And she idolized the so-called Crimson Butterfly, and that was her hero. That was their, the person she looked up to. And then one of her senpai in the gang told her, she lives around here and she has a daughter about your age. And she realized that, wait a minute, I'm going to start going to school and see if I meet this girl. And she does meet, and she is offended. She's like, there is no way you're her daughter. Like, she is just absolutely offended that this shy, painfully polite, kind of goody two shoes, like that's how she sees her when she first meets her. Like, how? And then Toru, of course, invites her over, and this is where she meets her. They say don't meet your heroes.
Yeah. Fotaro fan, you're in 6th grade and you watch Oshinoko. I am scared.
Yeah.
Well, I can say at 6th grade I didn't even know what anime was. I watched anime, but I didn't know what it was.
I didn't either. I
mean, Oshinoko is a very violent and very adult situation.
I'd say, wait a minute, 6th grade. Would that have been around when I saw Ninja Scroll? Maybe. Which again might explain why I hated it.
It would have been in Blockbuster. Let's put it that way.
That might explain why I hated it. But anyway, so yeah, we basically get the better part of an episode and a half of Uotani's backstory.
Yeah,
and we find out what's up.
Oh, I just had the cat stomp on my face.
And this is absolutely a difference from the original, because I think they mentioned how Uotani met Toru, and I think that was about it.
It was like about not even a 5-minute element.
Yeah,
I think it was like 3 minutes at most.
Yeah, and here we get a full episode and a half where she's telling this story, and you really get a lot more of Kyoko. Was an important part of the first series, but she was barely in it. She's a full-on character in this series, and which, just like the manga, she's a full-on character in the manga. And this story arc is part of where we really get to know Kyoko, as well as the backstory of, and basically I think they did have the part where Kyoko basically went to bat for Uotani to help her get out of the gang. And basically, as far as Uotani's concerned, she's saved her life. And she basically became fiercely loyal at that point to both of the Hondas, and became, best friends. And they went into high school already as best friends. But not everyone understood it, and people thought that Uotani was like bullying, or like they couldn't believe that Honda would actually be hanging out with her for any other reason than she was being threatened into it. It was like,
it's actually kind of amazing how similar her backstory is to Toru's mother's.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities in a lot of ways. Yes.
That actually covers 2 episodes, 2 whole episodes.
Yeah. And what was it that Kyoko said? It was something like I think she just got tired of being so, what was it? I get tired of being so, I don't think it was angry was the word she used, but basically she just got tired of being against everything, and just, I relaxed a bit. That's what she said. She said, I just relaxed a bit and learned to enjoy life, and it really has an impression on Uotani, her and Toru. And this is arguably one of the first, if not, well, I guess Kyoko would be the first person that Toru, because they don't really get into it at all in this season, but later on in the manga, you find out that Toru actually healed Kyoko at one point. But again, we'll get into that if we ever get into another season. But then we go into what's important which is Kisa's introduction.
Yep.
We actually have 4 major character introductions in 4 consecutive episodes.
And this one boils my blood, because I've dealt with this kind of situation as someone who's been bullied in life. It's sad. It's absolutely sad. And I fully agree with the scene here that we get, that Yuki reads the letter from the teacher, and Haru's basically just like, she's a total ass. The teacher's
Well,
an ass.
I think Haru, gave Yuki the letter to read saying, I'll bet it's bull, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when Yuki's done, he's like, yeah, that was bull. But basically, Hatsuharu came looking for Kisa. She had gone missing. And they find her, and she's this cute little tiger cub. And this is where we, the first time we meet the tiger of the Zodiac. But you wouldn't necessarily, I was surprised the first time. And I'll admit, it's a little bit of a unexpected thing that the tiger is this very shy, kind-hearted girl who's the second youngest member of the Zodiac.
Tigers are solo hunters. They don't hunt in packs.
Well, yeah, like most cats.
Yeah,
but tigers are the king of the jungle. They are nothing to, again, you would have.
Well, you have to correct yourself there. Lions are the king of the jungle, even though they don't live in jungles.
I'm thinking of it in the sense, well, technically both lions and tigers can be found in jungles. It depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Because neither one is beholden to this. I mean, Siberian tigers live in the snow, but it just depends on. But anyway, that's a weird tangent. But anyway, but also tigers are the largest cat. They are big. So again, for this really little, petite, very shy, it's exactly the opposite of what I would have expected.
She's a cub. I mean, if we got to flash forward years later and see her, I expect her to be taller than most of the guys.
Yeah, probably. But you get the and of course later we find out that she and the sheep are very, very, very tight, which is kind of an interesting thing too. But she immediately bites Toru, and it does hurt.
Yeah,
and but Toru is very calm with her, very patient with her, and she manages to draw her out of her shell. She manages to actually listen and not in neither pity her nor judge. She's just there for her, and Kisa eventually calms down enough to turn back into herself. And while it takes her a while to start, we find out she hasn't been talking for a while.
No.
And we find out why, and you guys already kind of touched on that. She's been bullied and harassed, and we already touched on the fact that her mother was at her wit's end trying to figure out what to do. And we eventually find out Kisa had been afraid to talk to her mother because her mother was so protective. And so Kisa had been afraid to go to her and tell her what was going on. And Toru manages to be what she needed. And she glomps onto her, and Toru has a brand new little sister after this episode.
I will say, when we see her initially chomp on Taro, and she does it again later, it's something that most people don't understand about cats.
Yeah.
When a cat bites you, and most of the time it's not going to be a hard bite, it's a love bite.
Mm-hmm.
You do not pull away.
Right.
If you pull away, they're going to hate you.
Yeah. Cats can be very painful when they do that, but oftentimes, it's a
matter of trust. It's a matter of trust.
We've got a nice little top 5 here, and I hate to say it, but the only other one I've seen here is Lucky Star, which is a fun classic show.
Yeah.
I do want to see all these.
I have watched all of these.
Okay.
I will say I have not watched much of Toilet Bound, and I just have not been a fan of Toilet Bound. So that's why I haven't watched it. But most of these are pretty good shows. I would not put No Game, No Life on number 4, though.
Well, I've heard things about No Game, No Life, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, I haven't either. I have it. I think I
have every single one of the ones on this list. I just haven't seen, but I saw Fruits Basket, and I have seen Lucky Star. I saw Lucky Star not long after. I remember that
We've
because
all seen Lucky Star.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an episode playing at your apartment, and then going, "Ooh, I want to see that because it's
I will admit I probably also addicted you all to Lucky Star.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
that's probably a true. And I do want to cover Oshinoko at some point.
Yeah,
but I feel it's still too new for our series to really get to yet.
And Konata is a very memeable character, so that's one of the she's very interesting there. But
she was definitely one of the waifu of the week characters.
So we get this nice kind of episode that gets us all in the feels with Kisa, and then we have Gomenasai. I'm so sorry. The Ritsu episode, which also features Shiguri's editor, and my family happened to walk in while I was watching this episode, and I'm like, of all the episodes, oh man, there is so much yelling and apologizing, and it's so annoying. But that being said,
I swear I got a headache from rewatching that episode.
Ritsu is a nice enough character when they're not apologizing the head off.
They screech so much.
Exactly. And it's just like the editor, I feel for her, but when she's screaming about how she's going to end it all, it's
I feel sorry for the voice actors on this episode.
Yeah.
Because they are blowing out their voice.
It was an interesting episode, let's put it that way. And I think this is Ritsu's only appearance in season 1.
It is. And Ritsu doesn't have many appearances in the entire series.
Right. Ritsu does show up later, and as Brandon alluded to, there are some they kind of walk some things back later, which it is a little disappointing.
But Ritsu is hinted at as trans in this season.
Yeah, let's say when Toru finds out Ritsu's a guy, she is shocked. she is shocked. She's like, "Oh no!" It's because she hugged him and he transformed.
Yeah,
and she was like, "What?" she couldn't quite get her head around it. I think she already.
I mean, I'll say it. I'm jealous of Ritsu's looks in this episode.
I think Toru already knew there were 3 females in the Zodiac, but but she didn't know who they were, and she had already met 2 of them.
And she doesn't meet the horse until the horse is
much later,
and I think technically last, because I do think she meets the rooster, but doesn't know he's the rooster beforehand.
Yeah, she meets the rooster and the horse very late in the series. And I was intrigued that they gave Rin a brief cameo in this season, which we'll get to, but it's not through Toru, thankfully. They didn't go there. But it's through the next character we're introduced to. We have the episode, I Can't Believe You Picked It Up, which introduces that snot-nosed little punk hero, which I will admit, I can empathize a little bit with Hiro. He is very, 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 very protective of Kisa. As the series goes on, you find out they really are close and they really do care about each other. But he is such a snot-nosed little punk when he first comes on the scene.
He does work on it as the series goes on, but during his first episode. He was one of the most annoying characters to me just because he was such a brat.
Every now and then, there's an anime character I want to punch.
Yes. He is a very punchable
and if I punched him, I would have been taken away for child abuse.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you on Izumi Konata. Although Akira was one of the ones in the Lucky Channel, wasn't she? Was it? Am I remembering correctly?
It's been a while since I've watched Lucky Star, even though I also own Lucky Star.
It's like the Lucky Channel was the voice actor, and then the girl I think was Akira, the one with the split personality. That was kind of interesting. But yes, I
the one that like had like the sleeves that were too long.
I think so. Yeah.
I will say I enjoy Ruby in a bit in Oshinoko. I do not. She is not my favorite character.
Again, I need to eventually get to those others.
I have no idea.
So
I've looked at many of those series. I considered like that one, My Dress Up Darling, and some of those. I always considered them waifu of the week series. Because they were the ones who, one character was all everybody would talk about and nothing else about it.
And, I remember you had that screensaver that just said otaku, and it was Izumi, and I was like, okay, that's just perfect. Like, but anyway, so just a brief wrap up on this one. Hiro, of course, is the ram of the zodiac, and he does tend to kind of butt heads with everybody, which is appropriate for the ram. And then we get into the episode that is very similar in some ways to the way it was presented in the first series. It's the one that's one of the reasons why Hanajima was my favorite character and probably still is one of mine. And that's the episode I Never Back Down from a Wave Fight, which is the one where the Prince Yuki fan club invites themselves over to Hanajima's with a obviously BS story about wanting to write about waves for the school paper. And she immediately accepts. And Uotani and Toru go over, what they want? Oh, they're coming over. Why? Well, I sense some really nasty waves coming from them. And Uotani's like, I see. We'll come by later.
That's when we get introduced to her brother, which is entertaining.
Yes, this is where we meet Megami Hanajima, but not just yet. Toru apologizes. She has to go work. She really wanted to, and of course, Hiro and Kiza are coming over after. So Hanajima takes the girls to her house, which is a shockingly ordinary house. Like the episode starts with Motoko is the oldest one, I think.
I believe so. But they all have the same dream.
They all start with an M. I think they all start with M-O. But it starts with a dream where she basically imagines that Hanajima lives in basically the Adams mansion or someplace like it. And she wakes up screaming, and her mother's like, stop screaming and go to school. But they go and they're like, this is shockingly ordinary. And they walk in, and like Hanajima's like, I'm going to go make some tea. Y'all make yourselves at home. My room's up on the second door down. And then she turns around and says, oh, it would be very wise to never use your names in this house.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
And of course, they're kind of freaked out about that. And they go upstairs and start poking around. And what's one of the first things they do? Call each other by name.
So Megami can hear them.
Yes. Well, they go poking around the room. One of them opens up a drawer. Well, she reads shoujo manga? I did not expect that. Oh, I like this series.
Yeah.
And then the main one, the ringleader, opens the closet and sees Megami and slowly slides the door shut. And then slowly turns around. And I think Hanajima comes up right then.
Well,
and she's like, what's in there? And she's like, oh, it's probably Megami. He likes to sneak around. My little brother. And they're like, you have a little brother? And she's like, Megami, come out and meet them. And so, he opens the door halfway, and it looks even creepier.
And he ends up getting their names after all because they've been mentioning it, thinking that.
He already had their names because he listened as they were, But they had this little tete-a-tete around the table where they learn very little bit about Hanajima and Megami, very little. But they quickly they kind of lose whatever semblance of making fun. Like they lose the ability to keep up the front. Let's put it that way. And they're like freaking out. We need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. But no, we need to find out her weakness first. We need to. Okay, because they are determined that she is the demon queen who is the power behind the witch Toru. Basically, they feel like Toru has bewitched their precious Prince Yuki, and they want to destroy Toru, but they got to get rid of the demon queen first. That's the idea. So they want to find out her weakness. It's like one of them says, oh, we can take Oatani. She may be a delinquent, but she's human. But
it's actually kind of funny that we're talking Fruits Basket.
Yeah.
And it's my orange kitty that is trying to get a lot of attention right now.
Hello, orange kitty.
Like, it's cute.
Okay, let's see here.
There's another comment, but I can't put it up on the screen. My hands are full.
Most of these are ones, again, I know by name. They're top 6 to 10. Eminence and Shadow, Sailor Moon, Spy Family, ReZero, Danganronpa. I have read most of Spy Family and seen the movie, and I love what I've seen and read. I've seen the first season of Sailor Moon and the first half of Crystal season 1 and a couple of the movies. I know you guys know Sailor Moon better than I do.
I've seen every single one of these all the way through.
Okay.
I'm caught up even with the manga of Spy Family, and I have not been reading the light novels of ReZero, so I cannot say I'm caught up with the novels, but I am caught up with ReZero.
Spy Family is a delightful manga. I'm definitely enjoying that one.
I read all of the Sailor V comic for Sailor Moon.
So
I've tried playing Danganronpa on stream, but it's boring as hell. The game sucks.
Anime is not that bad. The game is. It's not necessarily meant well for streaming.
No.
So,
but the rest of them are pretty good. I wouldn't put many of them in the top for me. Sailor Moon would make a notable mention, and ReZero probably would make my top 10.
I mean, I love Sailor Moon. I mean, I admit I've only read a certain portion of the comic, just because I haven't bothered to track it down. And I mean, I've even seen the live action Sailor Moon.
I keep meaning to read it, but I've been putting it off. Like Fruits Basket was one of the reasons why. I've also been actively reading One Piece. Finally read volume 100 today. And I've been actively reading Komi Can't Communicate, and Spy Family's on the list of ones I've been reading sporadically. Sailor Moon is sitting there waiting to be started.
I am determined to probably get the collector's edition of the Sailor Moon manga set as well.
Those are nice volumes. They are very nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the box set is amazing.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, we'll get back to one thing that Megami said earlier in the discussion. They asked, oh, do you do waves like she does? And he almost scoffs, but just like, no, I don't have that power. I just do curses. And he's like, I'm particularly good at turning back curses or something. Like it, I don't remember precisely. So they and he's like, all I need is someone's name. And that's when the girls start sweating and getting really and then they have their little conversation. We need to get this weakness and get out of here. But how do we do it? And that's when the youngest one just point blank, Hanajima, what's your weakness? and then she's like, oh, I see why you're really here. Okay. It's she already knew, but like she really and she just basically lays it all out. You want to get rid of me so you can get to Toru. And they're like, are you using your powers to read our minds? And she and Megami are both like, no, it's just obvious. It's so obvious. And that's when Megami gives them this lecture, surprisingly mature lecture about forcing one's feelings on another person. And he even catches Hanajima off guard, and she realizes, and she mentions later, she explains later that she actually felt guilt. She felt jealous when Toru said she was going to be hanging out with Kisa and Hiro. She feels like the Somas are taking time away from her best friend. And so when Megami's giving this little speech, it causes her some self-reflection. But then Megami ends it by naming each one of the girls in turn. And that's when we cut to the outside of the house and them running, screaming down the road. Like, and then later we have an episode, and he tells her, "Oh, they used their names while they were waiting for you to make the tea," and then later at school, they have this very awkward encounter, and as the girls walk away, Hanajima says, "The curse takes effect in 3 days."
No.
Yes, and it's like I said, this episode absolutely just cracked me up. I thought it was one of the
given a lot of the episodes are, emotional riffs. This is a great just humorous moment to break up the monotony, especially since we're going into the darkest point of the season.
And also because it's going into the next episode, Because I Was Happy, is a straight up Hanajima's origin, which was almost entirely left out of the first series.
Yeah.
But before we get that, she had at the very end, like Yuki is seen from a distance a couple times in this episode. We see Kyo, I think, once, but we don't actually have any vocal from any Soma in the whole episode until at the very end we see Hanajima pop up in the corner of the screen. "I'm sorry I made fun of you," or "I'm sorry I disparaged you," or something. And Yuki pops up in the other corner and says, "Huh? What are you talking about?" And that's it. That's like his whole appearance. And the next episode was fascinating because I Was Happy, there is not a single Soma in the entire episode.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They did not have one. It was all about Saki Hanajima as a child, her growing up. She has a shockingly normal, loving, supportive family that go to great lengths for her, kind of like the cursed children whose parents become overprotective. But she and Megami becomes overprotective. His entire doom and gloom, dress in black, knowing curses, was all for her. And even when she finally reaches a measure of peace, she meets Toru, and eventually it takes a while for Toru and Otani to get her to fully accept that she has friends, like true friends. Yep. It takes a while for this to happen. Even when this happens, Megami still dresses in black. He's like, I'm used to it. It's like, But up until then, they were doing that just because. And what it really comes down to is when her waves first really, she could read waves, but the first time she released them, she nearly killed someone. She did put him out for several days, I think it was. And she is scared of that power and believes she needs penance for having done this. Mm-hmm. So that's also why she starts wearing black, because it's penitence, So yeah, the Hanajima went through her phase where she was every bit as dour as Wednesday and worse, but Toru helped make her more kooky than depressed.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so that was a nice episode, and I feel like that was even more in depth than the manga was. I feel
it probably gave a little bit more to it. Yeah. Given what we're about to go into is the final story,
right,
of the arc, and it's the dark moment of the series.
Yeah.
Well, dark moment of this point in the series, because there are darker moments later, but it is probably. I mean, both series have had it, but I mean, it's we're going into Kyo's backstory and what has gone the curse really is to him.
And the final moments of this you look well. At the end of the episode, basically, is the introduction of Kyo's master, who we've heard mentioned.
Yes.
Like he is a really important to Kyo. When Kyo shows up out of nowhere after, I think it was 4 months he had been out training in the mountains with his master. He just had vanished and gone, into the mountains.
And his master is the martial artist that instructs all of the Somas.
Right. Yuki learned from him. Hatsuharu learned from him. He's
Kagura learned from him.
And he is, as they say, inside. He is part of the Central Soma clan, but he is not part of the Zodiac.
But he is the grandson of the former cat spirit.
Yes, he is the grandson of the cat. But again, we get to him at the very end of the episode. Most of the episode was kind of like the calm before the storm, you might say. It was kind of setting up how everyone is kind of working together. You get a little bit more character building for each of the characters. You get a little more relationship building. Honestly, I don't remember specifics that happened in this episode.
It gets to one point where Kagura's over and she's talking to Kyo, and this is where you get the brief childhood flashback, and you see Kyo's bracelet off of him.
Right.
But you don't see what happens.
Right.
That's sort of how the episode ends, with Kagura flashbacking to that.
Right. Well, I think at the very end was when the master shows did he show up at Shiguri's doorstep at the end of this episode or the start of the second?
He actually shows up about midway in this.
But he's like in the distance looking at them as they're walking down the street.
Yeah, because that's where the title comes from. You look well is him saying to Kyo, you look well.
So yes, it ends with him talking to Shiguri and the others walk up on him.
Yeah. And I'll say it's easier when you look at it and you realize everything that was going on in Kyo's mind when he left his master and he came to the Soma household. When you realize later everything, it's no wonder that comment means a heck of a lot more when you think about that.
Right. And then so the next one is Let's Go Home. And so basically it's sort of this story arc kind of starts at the tail end of 23 and goes through the first half, basically the 25th episode. But the main bulk of it, the main meat of it, is the 24th one, Let's Go Home. And that's where we find out that Kagura is planning to stay the night, as you know, but so is the master. They're both planning to stay the night. And about as it gets late into we hear a conversation where he's talking to Shiguri, and he's saying that I'm going to force some action.
Yeah, force it through tonight.
Yeah, like it's I love seeing that he can smile. Like he had seen that Kyo is smiling in a way he never has, or at least hasn't for a long time. But the way he's doing it, and he knows Toru is a big part of that. And he wants to put it to the test, but also he feels like Kyo has been running away from his fate for too long. And he's also wanting to force him to really look at himself and look at what is expected of him and what he expects of him, but it's basically like he feels like this needs to happen and it might as well happen sooner,
And we get the strangest looking cat demon ever.
Yes.
He looks like a Pokemon.
Yes.
He does. He does. He looks more like Mewtwo than he does a cat, in my opinion.
I do have to say this. Okay, so he tells Toru, he's like, I'd like you to see something later. Would you please, come out, like later in the evening? And he calls Kyo out, and he doesn't obviously tell Kyo what he's going to do. And he grabs him and Kyo has a rosary that he always wears.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off. And also, this is, again, we mentioned earlier that Kyo doesn't like the rain. It's very rainy. And basically, the combination of removing the rosary and the pouring down rain, his master knows that this will cause the, quote, true form to emerge. And I will say this. I have never understood exactly how they find this being to be as repulsive as they do. Supposedly, the smell is a big part of it. Supposedly, there is a smell. But supposedly, it's also like repulsively ugly. And I'm like, yeah, he's kind of ugly, but is he that ugly? I don't
Well,
know.
it's still a monster one way or the other.
It is. Yeah, it's weird and inexplicable.
The weirdest thing that we've been shown throughout this season is that people can become animals.
Right.
By this curse. Seeing this, that's like a whole nother level. That's like, holy shit, a demon exists.
Admittedly, he should have taken on Yuki in that form.
Yeah.
To be fair, Yuki does not do anything. He shirks into darkness himself, hiding away from this.
Yuki, my understanding, and I might be remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, that Kyo's true form was a secret to most people, and Yuki, I don't believe, knew what it was. He may have known there was one, but I don't think he had ever seen it or knew what to expect. And he might not have actually even known there was one. And later, when Hatsuharu comes up to him and asks what's going on, he bites his tongue and says, I can't talk about this because I don't know what he knows.
But this is also the episode we start to learn about Kyo's family, particularly his mother.
Right. This is where we haven't learned about his father yet. That's
because the beads are what prevent the cat demon from coming out. And she would kept checking Kyo for those beads because apparently at one point he did transform and hurt his mother.
And also, if I remember correctly, he transformed in a semi-public situation where
that was with
a lot of memories had to be wiped.
Yes.
And
actually, knowing the story, the real story behind the curse, that's even worse about that. And it makes more sense why the transformation is there. It's I would say that rage of being in the cycle.
Yeah.
So
this is like, again, this is where Toru and Yuki see this for the first time, and I think learn about it for the first time. Kagura knew about it, but she
hid away when it was happening because she knew what the test was.
Yeah.
And the test was if the person who has this relationship with Kyo can look past the demon and love him still.
And this is one thing that is not fully touched on in this season, so I don't want to necessarily delve too far into it, but it definitely does start a sea change between Kyo and Kagura. There are reasons why. And also, we only just start to scratch the surface of actually Kyo's parents, but we do learn more about his mother in this episode than we had, before.
We learned primarily about his mother. His father has a brief scene, and I think in the next episode.
Yeah.
But it's
very
brief.
very. his father actually does become a character later, but it's
this does have probably the one moment is most cringe to me, and I don't mean cringe in it's a disturbing, thing and culture. It's the hit. It's the hit that Toru takes from Kyo pushing her away. That just it gets to you, man. It gets to you.
Well, and of course, the next episode they make a point repeatedly of showing the bandage.
I mean, that's the thing is there's 2 points in this series where Toru shows unbelievable strength in the face of everything going against her.
At least,
and one of them is more of a physical and obvious thing, like with Kyo. The other one comes at the end, and where she has to truly make this decision, and she shows tremendous strength of will and strength of heart in both.
Well, I'd say there's more than that. Like the fact that she decided to not give in to despair when her mother died is a constant thing that it runs throughout the series. That's
it's not really. That's one of the things that makes it special is that it seems on the surface like she has managed to get through it, but in reality, she's just been covering up her feelings the whole time. And of course that's not healthy.
Well, I don't know that I don't know it's fully covering up.
I think I mean, again, I'm looking at this from a mental health perspective. This is not just about her mother's death. This has been since her father's death.
True.
She's been covering up her own feelings and thoughts in a selfish way, you could say, or at least that's how Toru would present it.
Another reason she's not a Mary Sue.
Yeah, true.
That's the thing. Is so I don't necessarily look at it as anything more than this is part of that flaw, is that her smile, and this is gone over a lot more at the closer to the end, that her smile is more of a mask over the pain she truly feels from the loss of her mother, that she really never truly grieved. Not until late in the series did she truly let go.
Right.
True.
I mean, it's clearly, I mean, I can only imagine because I still have all my parents. Brandon, you recently went in with your dad, losing your dad.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years now, but yeah.
But the shock to you.
Yeah. It's rough.
It's rough. And each person takes the shock of death. I mean, I recently had lost my uncle. My mom's still traumatic about it. And when you lose someone that's really close, really part of your life, you're going to have that shock moment, and different people handle it different way. And Taru is very much, she internalizes it.
Well, and of course, for her, it's an even greater shock because one, neither of her parents were particularly old, and her mother was just straight. It was an accident. It was sudden. It was,
and what we learned in season 2, there's even more.
Yeah,
because I mean, you learn it's not just her.
Yeah,
that there are other people involved with that really affected.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. We're just scratching the surface on some of that. But yeah.
But in the case of Kyo, with his mother, it's she killed herself.
Yeah.
Over basically just going insane with Kyo, trying to protect him. But at the same time, she's always checking that wrist, always checking. And they make sure to note that his mother was overprotective, but she got to the point where it broke her.
Well, I mean, it's back to that whole idea about somebody truly finding love for the cat, because they even said that Kyo's grandfather
Right.
that the woman that actually was with him stayed there more, at least according to her words, more out of pity than out of love. And
You
that's
mean
one of the
the
things.
master's grandfather?
Yeah, master's grandfather.
Yeah.
The last cat.
Yeah.
And that's but that's the thing, is
Well,
that this is one of those few times where there is true love for the cat.
Yeah.
Which again gets into something that we don't really get into fully this season. We see Toru fully embracing him, but we don't fully get into how earth-shattering that is for him until later.
Yeah.
But we do get the kind of the taste of it a little bit. But she does. It's not easy for her. She does struggle, but she also, and at one point he almost turns her away.
Yeah, she walks the pond and
Right.
basically gets to the end, and he's basically saying he never deserves anybody, and then she just turns around, and they don't even show her run to him. They
Right.
just have her right there.
Yeah, she basically makes that choice right then and there that no, you're not pushing me away. And then we see he loses the monster form, but of course she's embracing him, so now he's the cute little kitty again.
Yeah.
And then she walks back carrying the cat, and the master kind of, you see he's kind of like relieved, probably a little incredulous, but definitely relieved.
And we learn why he's relieved in the next episode.
Yes.
We find out that even he rejected his grandfather.
Yeah.
Yes. So the next episode is Summer Will Be Here Soon. And it finishes off that plot line. We find out that he gets up, and he is like, where's the master, Shigure? Oh, he's already gone. Toru's walking him back, or halfway back. And as they're walking, he does give Toru a lot of background on how he had taken Kyo in more for atonement. This is where he talks about his grandfather and the one time they met, and how he himself had said some hurtful, terrible things because he was a kid who didn't know better, but his grandfather just forgave him and was very kind to him. And then he said when he saw how people were treating Kyo, it awoke a sense of, I need to atone for what I did. But then ultimately he ended up coming to see Kyo as a son, and they became very close. And of course Kyo shows up and says, how dare you sneak off, and they have a little bit of a sparring match. But while they're at it, they basically kind of, partly through fighting and partly through words, they work it out.
Yeah, Kyo basically says, I don't feel I'm worthy to be called your son.
Right.
And the master at the end does say, calls him son.
Yeah. And of course Toru's super happy to see it. She's like cheerleading the whole thing a little bit. And then we get back to, they're at school, and that's where we see the
every freaking Zodiac invites themselves to dinner.
Well, not yet. This is the part where we see that something is off with Yuki, and this is where Haru goes up to him and talks to him about it, and we really get to see how perceptive Haru really is. And he's like, and Toru, she noticed too. She knows something's off with you. Kagura had also snuck away in the middle of the night, and would come to find out Yuki was the one who saw her off. And
we did skip over that Yuki's being suggested to become student president.
Yes, I think we did briefly mention the previous student president, who isn't a big character, but he's in there. And he apparently begged Yuki to take over, and Yuki wanted none of it. But this episode is where Yuki basically is like, I'm going to move forward too. I'm going to challenge myself. And after Haru comes up and tells Yuki that, Honda thinks something's off with you, he finds her and he makes this weird series of small confessions, but he's building up to saying that basically, I'm working on being better. I know there are things I am not good at, and I'm working at it. And I hope you will continue to, help me, or look after me or whatever. And she's like, okay, hi, definitely. And as they're walking down the hall, this is where we get a brief cameo of Manabe and Machida.
Yep.
Who did not appear this early in the manga, but I think we're getting really close to them showing up in the story. They become major characters later. So
yeah,
I thought it was
next season they're regular characters. So
I mean, they become, like Machida in particular becomes a major character.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool that they got that brief little cameo. And then, yes, we get back to the Shigure's house where Haru walked home with them. Kagura shows up and literally drags Kyo back to the house. She comes out of nowhere and drop kicks him, and he's like spread eagled on the pavement. She's like, "Oh, you didn't run away."
And they all just invite themselves over for dinner.
Yes. Well, apparently Shigure did. Ayame claims that Shigure invited him over at any rate. And so does Momiji shows up with Hattori, and they say that and Kisa, and they say that Hiro's coming later, but Shigure himself is at the compound. And so we briefly see Akito here, but Shigure is the only one that talks. Akito doesn't really say anything in this episode. And then Ritsu is nowhere to be seen in this episode. But we do briefly meet Rin. And I know this is way ahead of where she showed up in the manga. But Hiro goes to visit her. And we get a brief introduction to her. And we get a brief introduction to her goal. She has a goal that she is working towards, which is part of the reason what's that?
She wants to break the curse.
Yes. And Rin, of course, is the horse of the zodiac, but like I said, she doesn't show up till much later in the manga. I don't know when she shows up.
She's also in the hospital in this scene.
Yes.
It's very notable because her character continuously plays injuries.
Well, part of it is because she is so actively seeking a way out of the curse. There are certain people, certain person that she keeps pissing off. Yeah. And that's like, yeah. So
I hate to interrupt too, but as it is after midnight, we need to rush through these last few things to close.
Okay, so we are on the last episode, and basically it's just a nice wrap-up episode. It's a good pause before the next season. And then, of course, that pretty much is season one.
That is season one, yeah.
Anything else that we want to do plot-wise before we go into production?
No, I'm just going to... And production, we can kind of just go a little quickly through animation. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's beautiful. They put their time and effort in this anime.
It's definitely far closer to the manga than the original, which felt more cartoon. It reminds me almost like how Sailor Moon was versus Crystal.
Yeah.
Once they refined Crystal.
From what I've seen of Crystal, I think the animation was better here, but I've only seen the beginning of Crystal. So
season one was not a good showing for Crystal.
Yeah, season one was rough.
Yeah.
Of Crystal. Yeah. But yeah, no, the animation is beautiful. They took their time. They spent the money on this. That's when they did this remake. They were like, we're gonna do that. That's and they're doing the same with the One Piece that's coming out in about a month.
Which I'm
actually
still
in a few weeks, actually.
I don't know if I'm ready to start the whole series over again. When
I'm still wondering, like they're redoing One Piece while they're still doing One Piece. That's
yeah,
crazy.
but they're doing a faithful manga adaptation.
Yeah, but
wasn't it already mostly faithful to the manga?
This one's not going to have all the filler crap. Let's put it that way.
Either case, music-wise, I would like to say, I know that it differs for us, I'm sure, but to me, I did really love the opener and ender of the original anime.
I like them a lot. They have great nostalgia for me. They're very
the opener and ender to me here. I can see where people would like them, but I do not like them.
There's 2 openers and 2 enders. I'll admit the second ender did not thoroughly impress me, but it's nice enough. But I really like the other 3 themes. Are they better than the original? I don't know, but I like them.
I liked the opener, the first opener, and I liked the second ending. And there's a reason I will like the note that I not like the second ending. Read the words to that one.
Okay.
The words to that one is literally Kyo and his emotions towards Taru trying to push her away. That's literally what that song is.
Okay.
I personally love further openings on this show, but it being season 2 and I think season 3.
And as far as the overall use of music, I feel like it did its job without being obtrusive. I don't really remember the interior music, but I think it fit nicely.
The acting, it was good on both Japanese and dub.
Like I said, I saw most of the main cast in the English dub for at least 1 episode. I saw the whole season in Japanese, so I know that a little better. But yeah.
I've seen both. I watched this both in sub and dub when it initially came out.
Yeah.
I
mean, I saw about half of the first season in the sub when it came out originally, and I just started watching it in the dub. Well, this time, but then when I found out that most of it was the original voice cast from the previous one, and I love that voice cast already, it was a no-brainer for me to go back into the dub.
All right.
I mean, say what you will about the quality of English dubs, the quality of this one was very high.
Yeah,
I think they did a good job with it, and I agree. The Toru was well done in the English.
I mean, there's a reason Laura Bailey's respected. I mean, it's that and the fact that she's a dice goblin in Critical Role.
Right.
But
so I guess it is getting a little late, so let's go ahead and move on to favorites. So for this one, if we have a particular favorite episode or just favorite scene or moment, we'll go with that. And if we have, and then of course, favorite character or characters.
How about we also state what our Chinese zodiac is, so we can all state.
I honestly don't remember
what your zodiac is.
I don't remember.
You and Brandon are close to the same age.
Not really. We would definitely be different years. Let me see.
I know mine.
I'll look it up real quick. But
I know mine element and my zodiac.
So you can go ahead and start then.
Okay, I am an Earth horse. That is what mine is. I'm born in the year of the horse. My favorite scene absolutely has to be pretty much the final scene of the Demon Cat, where where he's completely embraced by Toru. It had me bawling, but it's tied to it is the moment of calling him dad or dad and son moment. That both get me bawling. They're absolutely beautiful. Favorite character, honestly, I have to go with Uotani in this season.
Okay.
All right. Well,
how about you, Brandon?
Well, apparently I am. I was born in the year of the sheep.
Okay.
But as far as my favorite character, actually Kyo. I don't know. I guess it's because I've always kind of identified with the underdogs more, and not because of how things are now, but how things were for me growing up in high school and so on. So I always identified with those characters, especially when there was a clear rival. And I like cats. My favorite,
We all like cats.
my favorite scene. I mean, like I got a little miniature Kyo sleeping here on my lap right now. My favorite scene in this particular scene.
Kyo wouldn't be caught dead being that affectionate, though.
is when they discover Toru at the tent, and Shigure just starts hysterically laughing. I don't know why that is, but that to me always makes me break out in laughter every single time I see it, no matter which way they've done it.
Right.
It's just because it just comes out of nowhere. It's just that way.
All right.
So yes, that will almost always be my favorite with the first season anyway.
Okay. And so for me, apparently I'm the year of the rooster. So I guess we've got Rin, Hiro, and Kureno represented here. The three last members of the Zodiac introduced, aren't they?
I was not a bratty child, so I can't really say that I was a hero.
So that's kind of
I can see Rin in me. I can definitely see Rin in me.
Yeah. But anyway, I think I'm remembering that correctly, right? Because aren't Rin and Kureno the only ones that haven't shown up yet?
Well, technically.
Okay. So at any rate, my favorite there are some great moments in this series, and you guys have mentioned a few of them. And I'll admit, in the original one, the whole high school girls part was always my favorite. But no, that's not even in this one. That's not even in this one. I'm going to have to say that probably my favorite moment is definitely in the wave fight episode. The moment where Hanejima warns them not to say their names in the house, and then when Megumi calmly recites their names back to them, the reaction that they had. And it's like, and partly because the Yuki fan club pissed me off so much, I just loved seeing them crumple in fear. I love that. And honestly, there's a few episodes, like the moment where Toru walks back to the cabin holding Kyo after the big reveal was a really great moment, I'll admit. And there's a couple others like that. But as far as characters, I probably will still go with Saki Hanejima as my favorite, at least in this season. But honestly, you don't see a lot of her, but you can absolutely see why everyone who knew her loved Kyoko Honda. She is a really, really cool character, and you can see why people love her. So I'd say she might be a close second. But anywho, I know that ran a little long, but we were covering 25 episodes of a classic series, so that's a lot of stuff there. And we had a lot of tangents too. So
yeah,
thank you for our guests for joining us. And I guess we'll hand it to you, Brandon, to wrap it up as you will.
All right. Well, check out, Brittany, I don't know, Embrya Arts for a lot of various things. Definitely check out her channel. I'm not going to go into lengthy outros just because of the lateness of things.
That's fine.
But of course, Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I promise I will be back doing streaming soon. It's literally been health and work stuff.
If you want her YouTube channel, it is listed in one of the links below.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, check it out with a lot of various things. Are you going to be streaming the new Resident Evil game?
No.
Right.
Not unless I'm actually paid to do that, because I am not a horror gamer.
That's what makes it more fun, usually. Depends on the reaction.
Yeah.
But any case, next month, back to animation Anticlimax until we hit June and we go back into birthday seasons again.
Okay.
So we are going to hopefully make some real progress in Adventure Time.
We're going to get one of the heavier story seasons. That's definitely
because we are going to be hitting season 4 next month. I had to double check where we last left off because it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, season 4 is going to be at the end of March.
Okay.
So, and I think that should be fine. They run by pretty quickly, those seasons do.
Yeah.
So we'll get through it. We're going to get through Adventure Time eventually.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all again with that. And then, of course, we'll take another break in June and July as we cover 2 more birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
night.
SeptumSin versus the world. It's that place for all the boys and girls. You'll feel real safe, you'll feel real warm. It's a cozy place to ride out the storm. SeptumSin. SeptumSin and his best boy Jake see the trends that scare us every day. Physical media is going to the side. Doctor streaming